Okay.
Could I have maybe a bit louder in my head, in my cans? Because I'm deaf.
This one.
I'm really deaf. That's it.
Like that?
There you fucking go. We're in.
I'm gonna turn mine down. Hello, my name is William Burnett, and this is the latest episode of Talk Video, and I'm here with Karl Regis O'Connor. Is that your middle name?
Surprisingly not.
No, where's some people may know Karl from Regis and other things with the boom boom boom.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I don't really know that much, to tell you the truth. I just know that you're really close with a good friend of mine, and when I see you on the street, we can usually have a pretty good conversation.
We get on
And you're friends with some people that I know, and you do like music stuff.
with people that you might know.
Yeah, and they all say nice things about you too.
Well, there you go.
I haven't heard any bad stuff yet. I've heard bad stuff about the old you.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's the stuff people want to talk about.
Sorry, but
Yeah. Well,
we won't talk about that at all.
You can totally talk about. Well, it's all fair game here tonight.
So I didn't prepare it all or anything, but you got your water and a nice comfortable chair, and
Very nice chair.
and I'm gonna have a beer today. But so what's going on, man? You live in New York City now, or
Everybody asks me that. I kind of live.
You don't know.
I live transatlantic halfway. I live in Greenland.
like Madonna?
Almost. What's that other transatlantic? Wasn't the transatlantic style of music as well? Somebody's wasn't it? Like,
Was that? What was that?
Uh,
That was Enjoy or something, right?
yeah, well, like
Or
Mr. and what else?
I don't. Aha.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I don't know who's from Iceland. Bjork. No, but my transatlantic thing that I always think of when somebody says that is that Madonna. People got on Madonna for a little while when she was dating Guy Ritchie, and she had that. She kind of picked up some of the English accent, and
Yeah,
people were
yeah.
making fun of her, and she said she had a transatlantic accent.
Yeah. She did, didn't she?
Are you becoming more American now?
I think I have to. Yeah, I definitely have to sort of monitor the way I speak about certain things, just for the benefit of just because we can do that. We can moderate that. English people are pretty good at doing that. Americans, I mean, when you come to I think especially like I think I went into if you go into a bar and you ask for can I have a tin of beer, they just wouldn't understand what you meant. Can I have a tin of beer? You can keep repeating yourself.
Yeah, they.
Not that I drink beer, even though it's so obvious.
Maybe
what
in
you're
New
asking
York
for.
you might be able to.
You know what? It's a lot different now than
Yeah.
it was. It's completely,
Yeah.
it's definitely Anglified now, whatever that is.
So
Yeah.
so you do this music stuff for a living, and I guess it's probably been pretty much your only job.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't been my only job, but I'm pretty at this stage now.
There's no turning back.
Well, it's not. I'm unemployable. I don't think I could do. I think I'd be a danger to the
But-
public. If I did
So
anything
if
else.
you had to stop now and do something else, what would you do?
I don't know. It's just.
There's no other.
Well, there's no plan B, and there never was. That's the thing, Just do it because I have no other choice, and that was it from day one. Some people are really good. They can.
Yeah,
They do it, they've got like a sideline and something else, but I just never had that,
you could do like dog breeding or something.
Well, you could,
No, but
but
so
it wouldn't turn. Yeah. it
so
doesn't
did
turn
you
out.
realize that music was that thing for you like really early on, or it took a while, or you had no idea what was going on?
I think I like the idea of fame a lot more than music. In
Fame?
particular, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, well, just like the potential of.
You wanted people to know who you were when you walked in the room.
Well, I think I just knew the power of rock and roll, what it was. I mean, it was the only way that the working classes could get into art, really, in England, especially. And like, if you could do that through, music, I think it was.
That's it. That's admirable for someone to say that. Usually, people wouldn't come out and say
I'm just
that.
in it for the music, man. No,
but-
that's the last thing I'm in it for. I'm in it for the.
I like when people are straightforward about that stuff.
I think initially.
I think
when
a lot
you-
of people think that, but they would never
Yeah.
say it.
I think when I'm just sort of speaking for like when you're a kid and stuff, and that's the first thing you're ever into. I think that's what draws you into it, and
So you're from England,
I am.
and which part of England are you from?
I'm from Birmingham.
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 That's how you would say it.
Yeah, Birmingham.
Birmingham.
Birmingham. Brum.
Brum. And where is that in do you have like a if you're
Yeah, I
from
mean,
Detroit, you show your hand on?
I show my hand. Well, it's in the centre of England. I mean, to simplify it, it's kind of the home of heavy metal. I mean,
Was it like a Is it like a crossroads? There's like a train station. Is it like a?
Well, I mean, it's the second biggest city in England, so
Is
you
it?
know, by considerable way. But it's also like an industrial village. It's not really kind of known.
Mm.
I mean, you know, Sabbath come from there.
Oh, that's
you know,
good.
Judas Priest, half Led Zeppelin. You know, so it's definitely a heavy metal town. So, and that's what it's known for: Napalm Death and
So when you're
Duran Duran.
that stuff with you grew up and that's
Well, you know, that was around. I mean, that was definitely around, and you know, especially and near that as well was Ska, a lot of two-tone, the two-tone label, the specials and stuff like that was from nearby Coventry. That was the West Midlands.
see to me that's all like that's really classic stuff. Like I can still listen to Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
I can still listen to Led Zeppelin. I can still listen to the Specials,
yeah,
and these are all great bands. So it seems like a pretty good place to be from.
yeah. I mean, I think it was. I mean, it wasn't necessarily just about that music. It was. I think it was just about. It was. I really hit a good time of being at that particular time being young and
so,
stuff.
so what time was that? How old are you? Sorry, am I allowed?
4.9.
49.
Yeah.
So you're 7 years older than I am. So I like to get a reference because then I can say, you know, when you say you're 13, it was like
Do you do that online a lot? Yeah.
no, you like think about it like when you first got on the internet, you were probably like 21 or something.
No, mate.
No. 17.
No, I think
30.
Probably, yeah, more than that.
So
But
I'm
you
just
know,
trying to put it in
I
perspective
mean, you know,
here.
I mean, the thing is, like,
So
when,
you remember the 70s.
yeah, vividly.
Yeah, see,
I remember vividly when Elvis died. The night Elvis died, I
Yeah.
remember, you know, being devastated. So yeah,
that
I
was
remember.
1977.
That's correct. Correct.
That was the year I was born. That's the only reason I know that.
Really? Okay, there
Yeah.
you go. No, I think that was my first time that I really understood death, rock and roll. And I put it all together, and it was like that was especially in my family, it was a huge thing. So yeah, I remember it vividly. You know. So yeah, I remember the 70s.
So that's like your 9/11.
I think yeah.
Oh, I mean, you know what I mean? You have these moments that you can like, you know, mark in your life, and that will be one of them. You know,
Well, it was
like
definitely
an early one.
I think it was definitely the first one where you sort of you realise sort of something.
And that's the same time like Star Wars came out then at the same time.
Well, that's it. I mean, you've got to remember back then. I mean, Star Wars came out in '77 in the States, but
Oh, yeah,
in,
the year.
in those days, it took about a year to get to England. You
Yeah.
know, it wasn't as if it was out 3 weeks later or something.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
You couldn't pirate it.
but that was the thing. You know, talking if you're asking about music and stuff like that. I mean, look, hit quite a good time for music because it was all it was all British music at that
Yeah.
time. American music seemed really old-fashioned and very dated at that particular point. You know.
So in the 70s, as a little kid, what were the big things like? You weren't listening to the Bay City Rollers or something.
I
like
love
that?
the Rollers.
Okay, so
Absolutely love the Rollers. I mean, I mean, funny you say. I mean, Gary Glitter,
yeah.
the convicted paedophile.
Yeah, well,
He
got to
would,
separate
you
the
know,
poem from the poet, you know.
I'm still in the
Oh,
70s. Yeah, I think I love that. That, you know, kind of being. I mean, I was very much aware of that, so that's what I kind of like. I think that was my first. But I think the first record I ever bought or had bought to me was like a record called King of the Cops by Billy Howard, which is like a comedy record. This guy does all impersonations of Kojak and Columbo and
Comedy records. So you could have gone into comedy.
I couldn't have gone into well, who knows? Maybe well, there you go. I can go into comedy next.
Start a podcast, go
Yeah,
into
start-
comedy.
Can you imagine that?
I see the gears turning.
Slowly.
You never know. Then you don't have to get on the plane anymore.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, that's such. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Eric,
we'll
yeah,
get to that later.
yeah.
But so in the 70s, you're a little ass kid in Birmingham, and you're listening to Bay City Rollers and Black Sabbath. No, or what? Like I don't know.
Probably not Black
Well,
Sabbath.
see, here's the thing: is like I watched some of the past podcasts, and I went, and sometimes I got too stuck on like the early years. You know what I mean? So I don't want to go through the whole like
What was school and all that?
yeah,
now,
like
'cause
how was school and what was your first
you-
record? Like I want to kind of
You just want to get to the meat
get
of it, the people
these
that might be-
moments, you know.
Yeah.
But was there like, what do you remember? I mean, you said the Elvis thing, but what do you remember? Like some big things that were like turning points for you, or you decided music was the coolest thing, or your older brother or sister or something?
Yeah, I think you always have friends and older friends who get you into stuff. But I
Yeah.
think it was it's like I said. I think at that particular point, especially independent music in England, it was a really big. I think it wasn't so big here in America. It didn't have so much effect early on
Yeah.
because America's just so big. But in England, it was very DIY, and then especially at the start of the 80s, you know, the revolution moved from the clubs into the charts, so especially electronic music.
And when you talk about that stuff, this is like a Daniel Miller, like Mute. Is that
Yeah, well, Daniel, yeah.
is
yeah.
that's kind of one of the did that start in the 70s? Is that correct?
Yeah, 70, 78, yeah. But
78.
yeah.
And then what were there other labels before that were like a
Well, I think, I mean, yeah, there were. I mean, you got things like Stiff and Fast, but they were all started at the same time, and it was all very much a cottage industry sort of thing. You know, it was a case of, you know, you can watch any documentary on rough trade people just.
yeah. I mean, I've seen the BBC documentary called DIY or whatever.
Well, there you go.
But
that
is
was
that
it,
is
yeah.
that going to give me everything? You know what I mean? Or is it?
I'm not too sure it gives you everything, but I think you get, you know, you probably get a good sense of what it's like to do that. Really, I mean, I think it was that stripping away the professional aspect of what was awful about music up until that point. Really, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people, you know, they would mark that time that the Sex Pistols or whatever kind of
Yeah.
was a punk, but that's not really the same thing, is it?
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, the Pistols, even though it had such an a huge effect on a certain amount of people, it didn't really explode as much as people might think it did. You know,
Yeah.
generally over the population, sort of thing. The aftershock of what happened and the people they influenced probably was the aftershock that, you know, the people who were influenced by the Pistols went out. You know,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know.
because he went on to do like PIL, which was way cooler
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, that's yeah. and Pill, and Pill,
for me.
no, come on, Metal Box and
Yeah, yeah,
Pillar,
yeah.
Pillar. That doesn't even have to. We don't have to say that's
And
true.
so you're like a little kid, you're like 8 or something, and you're finding out about this music. Are you're is it how you're going to the record store? Or you hear it on the radio, or is it like
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I mean, I wasn't when I was 8. I wasn't, you know. But
you're
I
not,
mean, you know,
you're not buying
obviously,
like Humid League 7 inches or something.
well, I was buying Human League 7 inches when they came out, but
Okay.
I was 11 then.
Okay.
So yeah, when I was 8, that's 1978. I wasn't buying Taya. Yeah, what was it? You know, Shawadi Wadi and you heard of them?
No, but what is that? Is that I just recently found out about that? There was like a duo, what do you call that? When an a cappella group,
Yeah.
and they would cover songs. Their biggest one was they covered Yazoo, Only You.
Oh, that was the Flying
Yeah,
Pickets.
I just found out. About, I was like,
Awful.
how have I never heard this song before?
I think that actually got to number 1. I think the Yazoo
Yeah.
version got to number 2. But yeah, that.
It was so good.
Yeah, I think it was Christmas. I think it was a Christmas. It was just all that kind of syrup at Christmas. It got yeah.
But was that like? This is probably an aside, but is that like a was that like a respectable thing? Because they were like on these indie labels, weren't they?
With the Flying Pickets,
Yeah.
respect. I don't think the Flying Pickets necessarily were. I didn't.
Were they on the same level as Human League and Yazoo?
I'd say no.
Okay, that's
Just
my
a,
question.
yeah, just yeah, no. No.
But I'm gonna find that record. I mean, if you see a copy, pick it up for me.
Yeah, well,
I'll
it's
pay
it's,
you
it's,
back.
it's
I'm
definitely.
sure it's everywhere, but I just
I
you
think
know.
it's definitely your shop. Definitely.
No, I haven't seen it.
Really?
No, we have different shitty records than you do in the UK.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna make it my mission.
No,
to give it
don't make it your mission. Just if you come across it.
a- Okay.
It's just if it pops, I'll pay you back. You know,
Yeah.
or I'll trade you something for it.
But yeah, I'll give you.
But all right, sorry. What were we talking about? So you're a little kid. Is there a moment when you find this record store or go to a youth club or see a
Yeah,
band?
well,
or something?
I think back then and stuff, there was only like really. Not that it was grim or anything, but there was only like 2 shows really on TV that like were the ones you really waited for during. Actually, just one, and it was
Mhm.
just like this bright, bright moment in a week that all of a sudden was transmitted into your home and stuff like that.
What was that show?
Stop at the Pops.
Top
I
of the
mean,
Pops.
you know, I know that sounds awful now, but
And what day did it come on? Fridays?
it came on Thursday. You know,
Thursday night. So
Yeah.
Thursday night you stay up.
well, it was like 7:30 and stuff, or 7 o'clock.
So you have dinner,
You
supper,
have tea time.
tea time. Sorry,
Yeah, you have,
pardon me.
Yeah.
And then you watch it with your entire family.
Well, I used to watch it with my granddad until. I mean, that was actually talking about a pivotal moment. I mean, it was like, I think it was like, was it 1981 and stuff, and he watched it. You know, this is it's a man who's sort of probably seen Ready Steady Go, which is the precursor to that show, and with my parents probably watched the Stones and seen all that, and my younger uncle probably sort of saw Bowie and all that, and we're just watching it with him one night, and he used to make real comments. Depeche Mode came on.
Yeah.
I think they did New Life,
Yeah.
and he said, "Well, I'm not paying my license to watch a bunch of Italian rent boys." So I thought, "Oh, that's interesting."
So you,
And then the next one that I think then Soft Cell came on and that he did Tainted Love, and he got up and he just went, "Fuck this," and I went, "Okay, this is exactly the type of music I want to be listening to. This is great," because I think he was so disgusted on it, so many levels, and I thought, well, that was great. So that was definitely
so
that's quite important, because I mean those type of things. As a generation previous to that, were shocked by Bowie, and Mick Ronson putting his arm around Bowie while he did Starman on Top of the Pops, and
yeah.
everybody next day at school.
So this was, I mean, but so how was your relationship with your grandfather?
Fantastic.
I mean, but just the fact that it was so provocative to
Oh my
him.
God! Yeah, I mean, I
That
think
was something.
It was just a reaction.
You're like, how did that do that to him?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic, and it was just that.
So you went
as
out and
kids.
bought the record.
Yeah, I've probably got someone to do it by then, because 7-inches would actually, I could buy my own 7-inches, but buying albums was a different thing. You had to wait till your birthdays or Christmas, really.
Okay,
It was if you could get 5 albums a year, that was a lot. Because
Yeah.
it was £5, which was a hell of a lot of money back then. Especially sort of
A little kid.
your little kid, but you had to sort of really choose your records well, what you wanted, and and those records were. A lot of those records are still my favourite records that I bought. Sort of.
Yeah,
I remember.
I wonder. See, I mean, this is another thing I did. You haven't seen it, but we did. I did it with tracks, and we were trying to figure out. There's this like golden era, and it's like the '80s, and I don't know if it's just because of our age, or because there's something special there. Because if you talk to an older generation, they would say like either like the Beatles or Led Zeppelin is the golden era.
Yeah.
Is it just truly like when you're the time that your formative year, I don't know how to word it, but the music that came out during your formative years, is that what you think is classic, or is there really something special to it?
Well, I think it definitely was. I think certainly that was probably the last era of fashion and music. Probably the start of the '90s and stuff. I think since then, really, I mean, it's fashion and music and everything. It hasn't had such a cultural impact because we've just got different things now.
Yeah, I think now it's pretty not necessarily with the music we're involved with, but I think that there's definitely fashion is Kanye West is a fashion designer.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the thing is, I think the way back then, you used to define yourself by what you used to wear. I mean, I used to go when I used to go to school. I didn't bring any school books. I used to bring a plastic bag for my records, and that was like, used to walk around. People say, "Well, what you got in the bag?" And you used to carry your records under your arm. People could see what records you got, and that's the way that you defined yourself, and it's the way you sort of made, forged a relationship with people like-minded. I don't think if you walk around on the street now, I don't necessarily think you could sort of tell.
What music people
unless
listen
they've
to.
got it on a T-shirt or something like that. I think it's kind of, but back then you could, and that's why it was very defined.
So you were like a mod or a punk or
yeah,
a new wave or
exactly.
Or
I think
or a football player.
Or something, and then it all. Oh yeah, exactly. That's it.
Like what are those? A northern soul guy or something.
Yeah, exactly.
We had different ones. We had like jock and prep and stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, but that is weird. I thought about that too. Like, when did that change?
It changed overnight when we weren't looking.
Yeah, like you used to be like the music you listened to was your main identifying thing.
Yeah.
Well, was that just for us, or was it for?
I think there was a golden generation. Well, I think it obviously. I think
the hippies, I guess, had it too.
Yeah. I think. Yeah.
And the jazz guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think rock and roll definitely. It was the birth of the teenager, wasn't it? So I think since then,
pop culture.
So.
Jeez, and then what? When do you? I mean, I don't know how to even get into that. Like, grunge was kind of the last identifiable fashion, and then you kind of had like mall punk or something like Blink 182 or something like that.
Yeah,
and then like
just all
Dave Matthews Band fans.
Yeah.
Oasis.
Yeah, that's what you know. You know what? That's when it all kind of started going wrong for me in that whole Britpop. I mean, I never got. It was just so awful, really. Because I used to.
Oasis, I think, writes a catchy tune.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe you heard them a little too much in the bad context.
Yeah, the comedy. No, I can remember thinking at the time it was just, Christ, are people buying this? This is like just idiot music. But I've warmed to them as people. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I like the other element about them. But yeah, I suppose the whole grunge thing wasn't, all that.
It was really bad fashion too. But I don't know how we got onto this subject. But let's go back. So you're a kid with your bag at school with no books. So you weren't getting good grades.
I don't even think those things mattered.
You didn't care.
Well, it's not that we didn't care. It's completely different in England. I mean, we don't. I think you really in America you really play. I mean, I've noticed this is something I've definitely noticed. You place a lot on education and stuff like that, and it's kind of important. People ask, what school do you go to and stuff. And it's like in England, it's just. I think maybe it's because we're as a culture we're an older country, and those kind of things really don't matter, to be honest. Because, plus maybe because you can't get the top job in England, you can't become the Queen. So that's it. So you just resign to sort of like doing anything you want to do.
You can't become the Queen.
You can't become the Queen. You wake up, you're born into that. So it's okay. You can't get the top job. What's the point? So
is that a saying like that?
It's
other
not.
people
I've just made that up for your
It's
podcast.
a pretty good one, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's true. It's true. That's the class system. But but getting good grades. Well, not really. I mean, the thing about it was, I think I analysed it quite early. I used to see the geography teacher, and he was there, and he used to have, coffee stains down his beard and everything, and sort of piss-stained trousers. And well, you know what? You haven't got anywhere in life.
Yeah.
So that was. But I mean, basically in England, it was.
Well, but that's a pretty deep realization, I think, for a young person. If you really thought that way, like.
Well, school, obviously back then they could hit you at school as well. They could cane you as well.
I think that's a great thing.
I think they bring it back.
They should.
I'd administer it.
Yeah. I would sign off.
Yeah.
You can hit my kid all you want.
Yeah. Discipline.
Yeah. They should be. They need a little fear. You only have to hit them once, probably.
Well, you used to get 6 of the best, and we used to have some brutal chemistry teachers that have Bunsen burner things. We had this one guy who used to have a cricket bat, which was like a bench, used to just come and paddle you, he used to batter you. I mean, it's.
But you probably deserved it.
Oh God, yeah. Of course, we deserved it. We gladly took it. Yeah, But I mean, But yeah, I don't know. School. It was just a way to sort of contain kids, really. I mean, if you ask anybody about having happy memories of school in England, I think you'd be pressed to find anybody.
But do you think is that because of where you were? Is it a different?
No, I think that's. Yeah,
just a general.
No, I think pretty much.
I guess it was a pretty dismal time. I was pretty.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it was when you look back on it. But I didn't really sort of think it was. I thought it was great.
You weren't paying attention.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like you don't really notice those things. You just notice the good stuff, really.
Yeah. You're like, I can watch Top of the Pops on Thursday nights.
Yeah, man.
Piss off my grandpa.
Yeah. Well, he'd left pretty much after that, really. But it was.
That was it.
That was it. I couldn't be bothered with that. But I mean, it was a pretty good. I mean, you used to have really random stuff on it. You used to have Killing Joke on it for one time. They didn't even get in the charts, I don't think. And then you had Bauhaus on there and stuff. And it was like, okay, that's pretty good.
Do you know anything more about that show? Like, I mean, so it's on the BBC. So
it was on the BBC.
Government funded. Is there like a who was booking it? Was there like a famous person behind that show or like someone that you know?
Well, I think it was just. I mean, the BBC is a corporation. It's obviously funded by, but I think I'm not too sure who was booking it, but it was based on the top 40 basically. So it was like you'd have like a couple of new entries, and then you'd have the number one. But and as well, you used to have a load of, and if they couldn't get the acts in to do anything, perform, they used to have dancers. Yeah. And the dancer, I think it was Pam's People, and another one was Legs and Co. And all these women, they do their interpretations to like the latest hits, and that was actually go on the internet.
And watch those.
Yeah, it's definitely on the internet. Pam's People and Legs and Co.
Wasn't there? There was another British band that would cover all those '80s bands. They would do like Human League and I can't remember the name. Whatever. That's not the name of it.
Let's stop at the Flying Pickets. Right, yeah. I think you took it.
I'm not going to bring up my my taste anymore. I'm going to get rid of this piece of tape here. All right, so I don't know where I'm headed. Have we hit any good points yet?
I think we've made a couple.
A couple of them. What was that? You're never going to be the queen.
You're never going to be the queen, so stop trying.
Yeah.
Know who you are. Know your place. Get down the coal mine or up the chimney.
Damn. And so, and
or both.
And is that what you thought you were going to end up doing? Some kind of.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I suppose when I think about it, I mean, it was pretty grim because the teachers at school, especially for me, they sort of said, "Well, you'll get no further than the dole queue," because I was just like, it wasn't that I wasn't trying it. I just I found it kind of quite. It was just you just knew it wasn't for you, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it was.
And this is like teenage, 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, I mean, I left school when I was 15.
So you're done. And what happened then? You just...
I went out. I got a job. But this is the thing you saw in the early 80s and everything. It was just like you had the fear. You had three fears. Like you even if you left school, you wouldn't get a job. So it was certain your life was over. Then it was obviously the middle of the Cold War as well. So we thought you were going to get evaporated at any moment. I mean, especially like in '85 with the Libya thing. I thought I mean, it's kind of weird now. Maybe people don't really realise, but to live into that fear as a kid, it was like pretty brutal.
Yeah, you have like
air raid sirens and all that stuff. These potential things, and then of course, then you had the AIDS thing as well. So basically, you left school, weren't going to get a job. You were going to get, blown up by a nuclear bomb, and you couldn't have sex. So that's pretty. It's just fear.
So you just get wasted and forget about all of it.
Well, yeah, but I was kind of quite straight. I was just into music. So the thing is, the second after all these people telling you at school, well, you'll never get any further than the dole queue. I left school and I got a job straight away. I thought, hang on, this is a complete joke.
Where'd you get a job?
Well, actually, my aunt got me a job. I worked at
What was her name?
Pauline.
Is she still around?
She is.
Thanks, Pauline.
Yeah, she did. I mean, bless her, my poor Pauline. But she's I used to work. It was at a building society, which was like a bank.
Yeah.
Obviously cut out for it. I think they realised pretty much. They must have just hired me on because of her recommendation.
Sometimes you need bodies and chairs,
Well, the thing was, it wasn't just that. They actually promoted me, foolishly enough. So at that stage, I was. I think it was something called the advances section. So I was giving people mortgages. Bear in mind, I can't add up. I can't, let alone. But I was feeling sorry for people, so I was just like, yeah, it's all right. I'll give you a mortgage. These people couldn't possibly afford it. Anyway, that lasted for about 3 months until they realised, okay, there's something going wrong. So then they demoted me, or they didn't demote me, but they put me to the photocopying lab.
Oh, that's probably...
Well, I was just photocopying bits of paper. I couldn't even do that. So then they made me fill the drinks machine. And I got that wrong because people used to press for orange juice and hot chocolate used to come out. So at that stage, I said, you know what, I can't be bothered with this. And I just left.
And so you got another job.
I got another job. The next job I got, and I think it wasn't my last job, but it was one of the last proper jobs. I used to do this. I used to work this confidential waste company, and I used to drive this van. I used to go to local police stations and pick up all their confidential waste, all their shredding. But some of those things used to be like the interview tapes. So I used to play the interview tapes they used to interview people with on the way back to in the tape player. And God, it was the old Bill trying to stitch up these poor criminals and everything. It was just, I always say I wish I kept them. You couldn't have kept them, but it was just so comical the way some of these people were getting stitched up.
And you're just like by yourself listening to this thing in the car. You had like a partner there.
Oh no, I was just on my own actually. Yeah, it was weird. And I was so I did that for a bit.
Do you remember a specific case that you heard that it was like?
I do actually. Oh my God, this one guy. I think he'd what did he do? Yeah, he stole his friend's lawnmower, but then I think he tried to do something really disgusting with it. Then tried to plant it on somebody else. Then he tried to, I don't know. It was just really weird.
Yeah.
It was just like nothing straightforward. It was just like really, really, really odd stuff, and it was, But yeah, these tapes.
Is it like a junkie person or a drunk or?
It was just
mentally ill people. They just do weird stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tell.
It was just people that get arrested, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been arrested and put in the cells, but it's just like just I wouldn't give an interview like that. It was mad. It was crazy. But then then obviously that wasn't working out because that was really difficult. And I thought I'm not doing this. So then I was at home one day and I thought
what?
I was at home one day.
At home one day.
Yes.
Okay, I thought that was like some title of a job, a home wanderer or something.
I was a home wanderer.
What?
What's a home wanderer?
Just walk around, look around.
Yes, that's kind of grim. It's a bit ominous as well. I'm a home wanderer.
I didn't.
No, I'm sorry.
I thought it was another new term.
It's my Birmingham accent.
No, it's okay. We can understand each other.
But then I sort of hit rock bottom and I got a job in a record shop.
Mm. Yeah.
And that was it, pretty much it then, really.
What record shop?
There was a shop in the centre of Birmingham, a place called the Bullring, which was like a really old, which it still exists, but it was this really dilapidated, horrible 1960s shopping centre that had just gone wrong. And I mean, Birmingham's an awful industrial place anyway. It is just a mistake. I mean, it was bombed so heavily in the war, and they had such a chance to rebuild it in a nice way, but they didn't. They made it actually even worse than.
But so the shop was called Bullring.
The Bullring Shopping Centre. Yeah, apparently they used to have a
And so the record department in the Bullring shopping.
Well, it was called Way Ahead Records.
Way Ahead.
And it was from Nottingham, and they were like linked to the people who used to do Castle Donington Records. It was a heavy metal record shop.
So it's a chain.
Yeah, it was a chain then. I think I'm not too sure if it
Did
exists.
you have like a little outfit,
Outfit?
like a costume or like a shirt you had to wear, a hat or something?
No, it didn't actually.
You could wear whatever.
I should have done. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was
What did you usually wear to work? I'm gonna set the picture.
Well, it was like 89, 90 probably. T-shirt.
And you show up to work around 11.
Yeah, it was 9, I think.
9.
Yeah,
The record shop opens at 9, closes at 6 or
9
something.
till 6. Yeah,
And you're working all day
pretty much all day.
at the register, or just
The register, I went wild style. I just went through the sections a bit, tidying up at the back, making coffee, speaking to people.
and you're in there by yourself.
No, there's a couple of people in there.
Do you remember any of those people?
I do actually. Yeah, it was. Well, yeah, I do. But it was good because we used to. It was,
Nothing good to say, or
I was just, record shops. It was just.
no, I know, but sometimes it's fun to paint the picture of young Karl.
Well, a lot of these
with his T-shirt at 9 a.m. making coffee and
yeah. Well, it was pretty good because
cleaning up with
Was it-
Jerry or whoever you have to work
Jerry,
with.
what was his name? Steve.
Steve,
Yeah, he was just obsessed with American sort of really sort of bad middle of the road metal.
which is like
I
in
don't know,
that
like
year.
Warrant and stuff like
Oof.
that. But even before that, he used to really be obsessed about, especially CDs,
Like
import
Skid,
CDs.
Skid Row.
Well, not even Skid Row, just like really, even stuff you wouldn't even be bothered about. Really sort of bad, not prog, but kind of middle of the road 80s metal, and it was just really awful.
Like Dio. No.
Yeah, but not even that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it was just even worse than that. He used to on Thursday the imports would come in from
Yeah.
America. Oh, God, and he used to have a mate that used to come in. They used to get really
and
excited.
and you would
about
have
it.
to listen to it.
Yeah, but we had because we were connected to the Nottingham shop, who were connected to Castle Donington, which is the big heavy metal thing. We used to get a lot of in-store PAs. We had Alice Cooper, and
Oh, that's pretty cool.
that was amazing. Actually, he brought the snake and everything.
I guess he seems like a cool guy.
No, he was so good.
Yeah.
He was amazing. We had Megadeth, and who else we had?
In store.
In store, we had Dread Zeppelin. Do you remember them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were nice.
I don't know. I don't know if I remember liking them though. I'd have to revisit before I.
Yeah, I think it's probably of its time. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
You probably had to be there.
Yeah, I don't know if I had. I mean, I'm from San Antonio, Texas, which is kind of. They always try to say it's a heavy metal capital, also.
Yeah,
So I know.
Well, they're wrong, but yeah, it's great. No, I think Birmingham is actually it is.
I think every city probably says that about them.
But they're wrong because Birmingham is the heavy metal capital. So go online, look, you can get T-shirts and everything.
Well, San Antonio says the same thing.
Does Sabbath come from there?
No, but Ozzy Osbourne pissed on the
He pissed
Alamo.
But he didn't piss on the Alamo. He pissed on the thing across the road. That cross across the road.
Yeah, it was whatever. I mean, I don't know.
Well, we're linked. We have a common. We
Yeah.
have a commonality.
I grew up around that stuff too,
Yeah.
But maybe a little. I remember those bands, as a little kid. But it was more. Metallica was huge. Metallica was a big.
Well,
one.
we had Megadeth as a in store as well, and Metallica.
Yeah, and so this. And you're into some other stuff, or you're kind of flirting with it a little bit.
What, metal?
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's kind of. I mean, that's pretty much after. I mean, this is like we've skipped a few years, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
to get to that. I mean, the music I was into really for my years were kind of formed pretty much, from like 82 to 85, 86. Really.
From the top of the pops.
Well, not just, but then you get. You mentioned Mute before,
Yeah.
with Daniel and there's bands, labels like obviously Mute, Some Bizarre, and stuff like that. You just, if you like Depeche Mode, then you might get into Fad Gadget, and if you're into Fad Gadget, you might get into, none, or and so on, so on. And then if you, as I mentioned, soft sell before, then you might get into Einstützen and Neubauten and test departments, and it was all, and that's the way you linked it, because you couldn't. There was obviously no internet.
I mean, was there, were things like Throbbing Gristle and Chris and Cozy on your radar at that point?
Yeah, I mean, this is the funny thing. Well, not funny, but people gone about TG now, but like back then, I mean, I knew of Psychic TV and Genesis PRH before that, because Dave Ball, who's the keyboard player in Soft Cell, had Genesis PRH on his solo album, and I got that for Christmas 1983. So when I was looking at that, well, who's this? Who's Gavin Friday and these amazing? Who's Genesis PRH? And then you find out Genesis PRH is in a band called Psychic TV, and then later, it was only much later than well, not later, like 1985. Oh, Genesis PRH used to be in a band called Throbbing Gristle, because none of those records are available.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just wondering how, you think, you look at the time on the record label, you look at just record sleeve, and it's really early.
Yeah.
But you just wonder how aware of it people were. Did you have to be like a 19-year-old, super clued in London person to know, or like who knew about that stuff when it was coming out?
I think when it came out, I think people, I mean, it was, well, that's the thing about England. I mean, even though independent music was great, but the provinces really did come into their own, whether it be Manchester or Sheffield or Edinburgh and Glasgow. And
so they were really localized.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, people did know about it, but then it finished, and then after, when TG split up, maybe for 4 or 5 years, the records weren't in press until Daniel reissued them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then all of a sudden you could sort of follow the track. You could trace all the lines
and so these reissues were starting to come out while you were at this store.
No, that was before. That was about 5 years. But no, okay. But then because I was getting to know more, I was piecing the dot. I was putting all the joining the dots and everything. I could get into that.
And were there like magazines or newspapers or like little zines and publications that you remember reading about this stuff? Or
well, yeah, I mean, there was because then when you get a bit older, when you get about 13, you want to read new. I used to go to a place called W.H. Smith's, which is like a newsagent. You used to go there and read the magazines every fortnight. I used to read Sounds, which is really important. And Zigzag then was a great magazine at that time. It was an alternative magazine, really, And you could then you'd read about it, and then you'd learn about, there's this guy called Nick Cave who's in the birthday party, and then you learn about all these other things. It's just like piecing stuff together, and it was just, even though that seems so bizarre now that you'd have to even do that.
Yeah, you would read the magazine. You would read every single word in the entire magazine.
And the
every
ads.
ad,
every ad.
Copyright.
Because that's all you had. Because it's mad. Because that's all you had.
Yeah.
And that's I don't know if that's better or worse, but it was
just no, but I mean, and the other thing too that could be helpful, for someone watching this is, maybe if you mention some of these names, maybe somewhere someone is putting an archive of, I work at the Thing, and we get sometimes we get magazines, and sometimes we get these things. Maybe somebody somewhere has a collection, they're going to scan them and put them online, and other people can read them. Because you find out, I mean, as I've gotten older, I you read articles and you know the people involved, and you realize how far away from the truth some of these articles are.
Well, yeah.
But it's fun to read them back then too, and you can put all these pieces together in whatever way you want to.
You print the legend, you never print the truth, don't you? Anyway, no, it's. I mean, I think there's a lot more craft gone into print magazines anyway. I mean, I think we know that anyway.
I think they're trying to tell the truth.
Yeah,
but I don't think they're trying to.
Yeah,
maybe not. I don't know.
I think I mean, especially the music magazines back then, it just seemed more of it. The thing is, though, everything was happening in real time. The records that people talk about, I was buying. I'm sure, like you you bought them in real time. That was the.
Yeah, you waited. They came out on Tuesdays. In the
or
States.
like and that's it. And you bought these records, and
you would see the date it came out, and you would go buy it.
And some of these are classic records, and I think, oh my God, people sort of revered records and stuff, but
Yeah.
Well, that was my reality. It's probably a lot of people's reality as well.
See, my entryway to that was more. It was like I'm a little bit younger than you are, so I was. It probably wasn't. I listened to all the, like MTV stuff, so I knew all the like New Order, Erasure, all the like pop, Human League, all the hits, and I was totally into it. But I wasn't. That wasn't the music I was buying. It was not until like I was 14 or 15 I realized that records were really cheap. So I started going back and finding, you'd find like all these, whatever Kraftwerk, Chris and Cozy,
Yeah, yeah.
and you'd just be like, what is this? And
Well,
I would buy it then. So it was like in the 90s is when I started discovering that kind of stuff.
it's, I mean, the thing is, it's so much harder in America to do that, to put those pieces together. I mean, it was kind of easy for us in England
Yeah.
because we had it all there. Was it very instant? I mean, Chris and Cozy. You have to remember, even at the time, Chris and Cozy. I always remember people sort of slagging them off in the 80s for being very old-fashioned.
Yeah.
They weren't kind of popular. I mean, they were popular. I mean, of course I love them, but people,
Yeah.
well, this is a kind of old-fashioned music.
Yeah, they just only October Love Song, I guess, was probably
my
their,
God,
their
that
big
was.
their biggest hit, I guess.
Yeah, because it was on some compilation.
And that was
one
like
of the
kind of
people-
even a later one, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, sort of mid-80s, wasn't it, and stuff. But yeah.
But it was. I mean, you have to don't forget that a lot of that stuff was. We had Wax Tracks here, which kind of played against Sam. They had a relationship with them, and so we had a lot of that stuff in the States too. Like
Yeah, I think. Because that was probably a bit late. Yeah, wasn't it? Like the late 80s and
the
stuff.
late 80s. I
You
mean,
know,
with the
but
whole
yeah.
huge industrial thing, and and
Yeah.
always like stuff like The Cure and New Order and all
Yeah.
that stuff, and Depeche Mode too.
'Cause I think it takes
huge.
on a different when it comes to America, it took on something completely different. I think. I always find that really, really interesting how a lot of those bands translated.
Yeah, I mean the way you would hear about it would be like, like your uncle or your older brother's, your friend's older brother or something. They would have like Talking Heads record or something, and you would be like, oh, I know Talking Heads, and then they would have these other things, and you'd be like a Mute record. So you're like, what is that,
Yeah.
And then you would get a little deeper into it, but I don't. It wasn't. Or I mean, I guess you would have these zines. They would sell British magazines and stuff at the record store. They would have like the magazine rack with all the the whatever alternative press or maximum rock and roll or whatever.
Sure.
But I don't remember the names of them though. But they had it, But it was in the States. It was called college rock for a long time,
college radio
or alternative rock, and it was strictly on these college radio stations.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's just it's completely different. Just because it's a bigger country, it's just it was so much more difficult for you to put a lot of things together because England is so small. People could link up quite quickly, and that was cultural thing as well. I mean, America, not you, but America was it was a rock orientated country for so long. When a lot of the stuff we're talking about now is experimental and using synthesizers and all these things that were frowned upon in the, originally.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't.
Well,
there
I think that's pretty much
the
way. That's pretty much the way I reckon it was. I mean, they used to have all these things, especially when synthesizers came out. It was like the death of music and the death of musicians and craftsmanship. And all this type of stuff.
But then like the Who had one.
Yeah.
So it never made sense to me. I just kind of just wrote off that argument because and then I guess Led Zeppelin never really had.
Yeah, I think
they
it
had
was
like a Mellotron or something.
Yeah, I think they had it at the side. It was all Emerson, Lake and Palmer and everything like that. But I think when synthesizers became affordable and the economy of it.
Even Alice Cooper had some synthesizers.
They did.
Or Ozzy Osbourne too.
Ozzy had it. Yeah, have you seen that thing when he's
With
got
the
the ARP 2600? That's
pretty
great.
good. Yeah, if anybody hasn't seen that video, search Ozzy Osbourne ARP 2600 on YouTube. It's pretty good. All right, so back in the day, it's not like it used to be. Sorry. Try not to get too much into that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think I believe that even, but I think I'm just waiting for the 80s to finish. I wish it would finish, and the 90s as well. Could it just stop
now or then?
Now, could it just stop now? I think that if we can.
Well, I think the thing that's going on now that I realized this today, or maybe I figured out how to put it into words is that, when you've already been through the cycle a couple of times, it starts to get old. When you can predict what the next thing is going to be, and you've been through it that time and then the other time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think people are optimistic about music and the future of it. But I think, we have to it's been on, is it a 60-year cycle now since Elvis and, the start of what we sort of consider rock and roll and everything like that. And it's like musical died out. I mean, our kids going to be listening to music in 20 years' time, as we listen to it. I don't know, but, maybe not the same,
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
this is you're being optimistic because you don't want it to die, but it might have to die. That's it to move everything to move on. It might be sort of,
Well, So you think that people will stop listening to music?
I can't imagine. Well, they won't. It won't be central to their lives. No. I don't. I think it will just be on the periphery. It'll be on the outside. It'll be something that's part of their existence that they'll be listening to. Possibly. I mean, I don't. I'm not. I'm not predicting the future, but I'm just. I just. I'm just. I want to. I want to predict the worst. I want it all to. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be like that.
Good for you.
Well, I mean, and the other thing too is you know, and saying that the cycle started with Elvis, I would also not agree because you know the jazz. I've been getting more into jazz, and that was really.
Oh dear.
I don't.
The last refuge of the untalented. It's what you can. It's what you do when you can't get a gig.
Now maybe.
Jazz.
No, but
I'm joking.
they're
No,
pretty.
that's Alan, yeah,
You
Steve
should.
Cooper.
I've been reading about it, not listening to it.
I think, but this comes back. You're talking about music. I'm talking
Yeah.
about fashion and changing the world. Before I'm talking about teenagers. I mean, before
So it's not as culturally important.
before I'm talking about Elvis again. But before Elvis came to England, you have to understand people were pretty much dressing like their parents.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like, you know, when you were 15, you became an adult, and that's it. You went, that's
You
it.
wore
But,
a suit.
you know, there was no such thing as teenagers until America invented it, and it was because of that. You know, it was because of the Presley era, and you know, as much as you know, I love that, and I love rock and roll, but it was about the movement rather than the music. You know.
So now like things that are more important
Little Richard
to youth culture are things like video games or
Well, this is something I've just realised this. I think what's this esports thing or whatever.
it's huge.
I'm shocked.
It's
But
huge.
well, there you go. Well, that's probably what people are going to be into.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
that will be their identity, like which game they play.
You know, they'll be doing podcasts in 60 years' time talking about that bloke they killed online or whatever with the other bloke from Czechoslovakia.
Well, it's like sports to
Czech
them.
Republic. Yeah, it's.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
it's an interesting thing. But I mean, music's been around for thousands and thousands of years. You know, like people have enjoyed it. So I think
We're not talking about music though. We're talking about the whole package. It's not just about the music, man. I mean, of course, music's going to be around, but
But for me, it's just about the music. No. I don't know. I mean, that's a hard thing for me to separate. You know, like when you talk about music, I really only think about music. I don't think about the other stuff that I don't really. I try to. That's like culture or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to believe. You know, that's not true, but you know, that's it.
I don't think so, but I mean,
But
okay.
you know, something gives you the horn. Something something you like. You see, you know, something resonates with you musically. You know, it's not just because of that's amazing or that. It's just because something around it has to be something around it to bring you to it. You know.
So you don't. So okay. So say everyone. You know, there's 10 people, and that they play a bunch of songs for them. You know, and
What type of people?
I don't know, 10 people from the street.
Well,
We go outside on Greenpoint Avenue and get a junkie.
What
and
music people? What 10 music people?
yeah, sure, whatever you want. I don't care. 10 people,
This is like
general people,
yeah, okay, go on.
and you play them 10 songs, whatever.
All right.
For some reason, there's songs that these 10 people will like more than others.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Well-
There's like a weird consensus where like everybody kind of likes whatever, some song. I don't know, like what's a song that everybody likes, like a.
Like an earworm type of thing that gets
Yeah.
into your head.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think that's.
Is there is it a math? Is it a science? Is it a?
That probably is. That's just something that goes around in your head that's easy to repeat and stuff. That's just maybe.
And you're saying, I mean, so
what makes you buy records?
What makes you like that? I mean, I'm saying that's a factor. Like, there's something about a melody or a song or a beat or a rhythm or the lyrics that makes people like it, and I don't think that's going to go away. But what you're saying is that there's another factor to it, that there's like a culture around these songs, you know, which I don't really think about that much. But you're right, it is a thing. Like, this person dresses a certain way or behaves a certain way politically or whatever, culturally, and that's also interesting, which makes it also cool.
Well, we define ourselves by. I think a lot of people define themselves by their, what they listen to, their record collections, or I mean, music. But ever have this? I'm sure a lot of people they have this this imaginary dinner party where one of your biggest hero comes around and he looks through your record collection. Oh, Will, you've got this. It's amazing. Or looks through your books. Oh, and it's just like this. I think because I'm not a collector. I mean, I never was a collector. I haven't got many records at all because I used to watch this. Not used to watch, but anyway, there's this show in England in the 1970s and 80s, and this called Antiques Roadshow.
I love that show.
Was a guy on there years ago called Arthur Negus. He was like an old guy, and he used to collect, I think it was antique French furniture, and he collected it over a period of 60 years. He had everything. I think he had a warehouse, and he used to polish it every day, and it was amazing. And he got everything. He collected it. Anyway, he died, and his wife sold a lot and went on a cruise and bought a Range Rover.
Yeah, it's just
so that kind of sums it up, really. So what's the point?
Yeah.
So that just bear that in mind, But I think
we're different. I think we're different kinds of people.
Of course,
because I never thought about that. I don't know.
No, I'm being playful, of course.
No. But I'm not taking it as an insult at all, or I'm not offended. I don't really have a soul, but but like for me, it's like an activity. It's like just to kill the time. It's like I like to listen and ho-hum, read about it, and.
No, I mean, no. I think for me as well. I still love it, and it's central to a lot of things. But I mean, I don't need to own it as much. I've got a really good. A good friend of mine in New York. He's he's pretty much like you. He's an avid collector of stuff, and he had so much stuff in his house he couldn't actually get into his fridge. Yeah. So it was this type of so that he had record shelves blocking his fridge, so he couldn't actually eat. So I think that would be great if he died, and we found him in his record collection.
There's probably like an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Yeah, we should write this down. Someone's going to steal this idea.
Go ahead, I'd like to watch it.
Yeah,
I'm not willing to put the work in.
No work. Do easy. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. But okay, so you're working at a record store.
Yeah.
In the late '80s.
Early '90s, yeah.
Early '90s, and are you involved in any music scene? There's like parties, or you're just going to shows, or
yeah. No, I was pretty much going to shows constantly.
Only in Birmingham, or you're traveling around?
Well, yeah. When I was I first started really going out to shows on my own, probably like '84. That's the.
And you don't have like a crew or anything. No, like a couple buddies you see.
Yeah, I mean, I had one or two people. But it was just like these things, these things never happen. The type of music I liked never. It wasn't a crew related type of thing. It was I don't want few people who were into sort of what you were into, and that was it,
Yeah.
But it was kind of. I mean, up until that point, I mean, I'd seen bands at the Odeon, but just things like saw Yazoo and Blancmange and people like the Depeche Mode and stuff like that. And then like the American, I was never really into the this American stuff so much. But I saw Grandmaster Flash when he came, Bambaataa and all that type of stuff.
For some reason, they had a weird connection. I think they just used the same instruments.
Yeah,
and that was like cool. Like I like that electronic sound. Or something.
But it was kind of yeah. But that kind of. But then I kind of when I hit 14 and 15, that's when I could really go out on my own. Mm-hmm. You could sort of hit clubs and stuff. Yeah, and you just sort of. In a short period of time, you could see lots of people, And
so that was your thing.
Yeah, because that was it. It was that moment. I mean, you probably know this, and that moment before a band that you love starts and the lights go down and it's just about to kick off, and that's just everything, And that's what I talk about more than music.
Yeah.
And it was that.
And so you're like, I want to be that guy.
Well, it's true, yeah. It's just what you think. Well, yeah, it's true. In some sort of way. I mean, you have to understand. I mean, I lived a lot of my life in my head. I don't live in the reality. It was just like you could walk around. I could walk around Birmingham, but I could think it was like, Berlin in the sort of 1930s and stuff like that. But that's the way that kind of a lot of people kind of do live and stuff. I could never really lived in reality and. I tried to make my own reality, But yeah, and then so
you decided I'm going to do that.
I think everybody does, surely. At some stage, or be involved. I didn't.
What steps did you take to when you realized like, okay, I want to be up there and be on the other side?
I thought, yeah, just try and make music, and I thought the most economical way of doing that was to buy a synthesizer. I didn't really have enough friends to be in a band.
Yeah.
Even buying a synthesizer back then was kind of difficult because you had to used to walk through the rock section and the synths were in the back.
You have to like ask somebody.
And they were doing the whole metal people, the synthesizer at the back. And
what'd you get?
I got a Pro 1.
Oh, that's the best synth there ever was.
I've still got it.
Probably needs some work.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
I'll show you a picture.
Oh, that's good. That's nice to hear. It's a good synth.
Yeah, no. I bought.
So that seems like a lucky. Did you know you wanted a Pro 1, or that's just what they had?
Well, funnily enough, I did. We used that. Was that magazine like? Was it not Sound on Sound? But
it was like NME or something. Or
well, no, it was nothing like that. It was an electronic magazine. It was synthesizer
like
magazine.
Keyboardist. Or
yeah,
something,
it was something like that. And I think they used to have patches of synths. And in this one particular magazine, there, I think they had a patch for. It was a Yazoo patch.
Yeah,
actually.
Yazoo was big Pro 1 band.
Goodbye 70s.
Yeah.
And I love that song. So I thought, well, that's great, and I'd buy that. And I thought, well, yeah, that was. But I didn't really kind of realise until like later. Well, you need a drum machine as well, and it was kind of But we used to start putting lots of things together then, and we used to have a little band. And
when you say we now,
my friend, a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine from back then and stuff, and we had similar interests.
So you made him buy a drum machine?
No, I think he bought a synth as well.
So you just stood next to each other. And what do we do?
What happened?
Try to sync the LFO.
Yeah, I had no idea what it did. I mean, you could kind of, but it was fun, and that was it. You just did that. We did a couple of, we did quite a few gigs actually.
And you're just one guy on the keyboard and the other guy on the keyboard.
Yeah, there's a lot of videos actually. We still got a lot of videos from the late 80s
and with vocals and stuff too.
Yeah, of course. That was the thing because
and are you harmonizing, like singing together at the same time?
No, it's a lot of shouting and metal bashing and a lot of t-shirts and shorts. It's like a lot of.
What's the name of this project?
Well, originally it was Family Sex.
Family Sex.
Then it was Karl and the Curb Crawlers.
Karl and the Curb Crawlers.
And then it was Here's Health.
Here's Health.
And then it was Karl and the Curb Crawlers again.
And so you're Karl and he's the Curb Crawler.
Well, it was just a revolving door of people.
Oh, so you just
had 3 people.
Oh, you had to get new people.
Just sack them and get them back in again because there was no one else. Fire them and get them back.
What would you usually fight about?
Musical direction.
Like which way were you headed?
I definitely.
You're like, let me stand in front, and he's like, no, let me stand in front.
Well, no, actually, the good thing about us was we used to we thought the most important thing you needed a synthesizer, but then you needed a smoke machine. And then after we got a smoke machine, we sort of we need a pair of leather trousers each, but we couldn't afford leather trousers, so we got some PVC ones, which we used to share for alternate gigs. So we used to share the PVC trousers. Can you imagine that?
That's disgusting.
Well, that's the times, So that's what, but that was it. So.
And how do you just wash them off in the backyard or what?
No, it wasn't. Well, to my knowledge, they weren't washed.
I guess they only had them on for like an hour or so.
They disintegrated after a while. But it was kind of good because there was but then a couple of our mates that I was with, he asked me to be in his band. And I did one thing with them at rehearsal and then it didn't work out, and then they went on to be a band called Ned's Atomic Dustbin, who were quite big.
Yeah. What's their big hit?
They were quite big and, just pre-grunge and it's a lot of that type of stuff. So I was always this nearly man.
So you could have been in Ned's Atomic Dustbin.
I could have been.
What was their song? I can't remember their big hit.
Happy and
they had a big hit.
They're pretty big for a while.
I bought it on the Columbia House CD thing, where you could buy 10 CDs for a penny or whatever.
That sounds like it. But he was Alex, one of the bass players, a good man. And I thought, well, okay, they're doing it, and it happened. And it's like, God, I'm all washed up. I'm 18, it's all over and everything. I thought it was awful, but
I'm sharing pants with people.
It was just all getting so grotty and confused. And
what was the guy's name that you shared the pants with?
Richard.
Is Richard still involved in music?
He's not, but no, we're good mates though. Still.
Do you still share pants?
We don't. We don't.
You should try it.
Yeah, we should.
Just get the band back together.
Get the pants back together.
Yeah, whatever. Or you could probably afford your own leather pants now.
Well, of course. That's the beauty of my job.
Do you have leather pants now?
No, I don't know.
Have you ever tried on leather pants?
No, I never got to that. I always had PVC. I always felt traitor if I got into leather.
There was a pair that came into the thing one time, and it fit me perfectly.
You joking.
and they were like the most comfortable, nicest pants
I will.
I'd ever had, but I had to get rid of them because I couldn't pull them off.
Yeah, it's just difficult to kind of find how to accessorize leather pants unless you all go full leather and stuff, and then it's just like, you know.
But
It's-
they were a little like they were like kind of like the black ones, but they had a little hint of brown in them.
Oh.
So they were like,
Yeah.
I don't know, they were a little more like
Jim Morrison type of.
not quite that hippie. They like fit kind of like normal jeans. They were like almost passable, which was weird.
Wow, how did it feel?
They were great. They were like the most comfortable pants I'd ever had on.
Well, you know.
And I understood. I was like, oh, this is why people wear leather stuff.
Well, one of the yeah, surely, yeah. There you go.
But I find that surprising that after you wanting leather pants, you never made the
Well, yeah,
jump.
I got past it. You know, I thought, well, I'm just one of the many things I just thought was never going to happen, and leather pants was like one of those things. And then, like, the '80s finished, and it just wasn't.
Wasn't cool anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if people want to see this stuff, you said it's on YouTube or it's
No,
on.
so I used to do things on the internet. What's that social?
MySpace,
No, I did it recently. That silly Instagram.
Instagram.
I did it for a bit and stuff. I tried it, but it actually made me look even more boring than I actually am. So I stopped that. But yeah. So we just
Just
it's
put them
available.
up on YouTube.
Yeah, well, probably.
It's
If
not,
anyone-
you just have to do it once and then it's there forever.
Yeah, that's kind of disturbing. I'll just take it down a bit. I might just have showings and stuff at galleries, or
That's
back rooms and pubs.
no, just
I don't. I'm just like I'm not into this. Like I don't understand why everybody'd want everybody to see everything. That's the only thing. I mean, the whole.
Well, this is how artificial intelligence develops.
Oh, really?
No,
So there you go.
if everybody has access to everything at all the time.
Well, that was the thing. It was just like years ago. Like especially we're talking about Throbbing Gristle and Jen. It was like, oh, the war in information. You know, we've got to rob the bank of information's everything. But it's kind of the opposite's true now. Really, we just we have it all. So you know.
Well, I don't know where we're headed. I mean, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if
That's the truth.
if we evolved somehow. You know, I wouldn't be against like a merging with machines. Why not?
Well, I just think as a species we're stupid. We keep making the same mistakes generation after generation. I think we haven't. We will evolve, but we're not.
I hope so.
I don't care, to be honest. Do you care? People do. Well, probably you might. I don't know. But it's like, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I do care. I mean, it'd be cool if I don't know. That's a pretty deep question. I think there's a lot of.
I think it's just so. Yeah, it's easy. I don't know.
Well, I mean, your attitude stinks. No,
I'm so negative. It's true.
no, it's fine.
I kind of bring cab drivers down in sort of like in sort of moments. It's like, it's all over. And
No, they're probably way more down than you are.
Yeah. Well,
They probably heard it all.
I'm not down. I just like to sort of
But so let's get back to reality here, maybe.
Yeah. So then I used to work in a record shop, but then I got I used to work there, but then I got a job for SR. Well, that's called Southern.
Wait, repeat that. I'm sorry.
I got a job at Southern Distribution
Okay.
in London, which is like
So you moved to London.
yeah, it was run by John Loder. And John Loder runs Southern Studios. It was like for Crass and Big Black, and and then because Southern Southern they did.
So what year is this? This is now.
This is like 1990,
1990.
91.
And so this is this. So now you're going into London, and you're coming from this heavy metal city, and then you're going to London, which is probably full on rave acid house by now.
I mean,
or
not really. I mean, this is the thing.
record
about,
industry.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, that kind of stuff. People sort of like to really paint a picture of all that happening. But I mean, the Summer of Love, or whatever, the second Summer of Love in '80. I mean, it happened, but it was for dance music. I think, especially in my understanding of it, didn't really sort of. It took a lot longer, really, to sort of really. I mean,
So it was really just the introduction of ecstasy.
yeah, I mean, people talk
in
about
LA.
Ibiza fondly and stuff, but you have to remember, maybe that they were playing dance music for 20 minutes. Some of these clubs, and they were playing a lot of chart hits the rest of the time. So it was,
Jimi Hendrix.
and it was just. But I worked for them, and they did like a lot of Discord bands. So there was like Fugazi, and so I did a lot of T-shirts selling for a lot of these people at gigs and stuff. Did Nirvana, stuff like that. So I was just part of all that. Sort of saw all those that type. So I wasn't really into all
So it
that
was like
stuff.
sub pop, Discord.
A lot of sub pop, sort of bands and things like. But then they had their own bands like Crass, and there were a lot of reggae stuff as well, a lot on New Sound as well. So you'd have Bim Sherman coming in and all these people, and just it was really interesting, and Sherwood and stuff like that. And for me, I was quite still relatively young, and I was seeing all these people, and it was especially John Lowe was quite an intimidating kind of character, really, because
I've never heard that name before.
yeah, but he was part of that whole.
How do you spell his last name?
Loader or Loder, is it? Yeah. He did a lot. He did the Southern Studio. He was production on a lot of the Ministry records, for instance.
Was he?
If you could was he on Land of Rape and Honey and stuff like that? I think he produced. If you look at a lot of Big Black records as well, he was.
See, I always thought that Big Black was whatever that guy's name is. The guy in Big Black. That's the
Albini.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, but like he was.
The other guy was producing it at the time.
I think he was definitely involved with a lot of
John Loder. I don't know who that is. Loder.
Yeah. Southern. I mean, he's passed away.
I know the name. So I know the distribution company, but I don't recognize the name.
It's part, Crass and all that type of stuff. So it was just.
I never really liked Crass that much. Big Black kind of was like periphery.
It's a completely different thing, obviously. But it was just part of what he did.
Yeah.
But also they. So I used to work there, but I used to do van sales for. So that meant you going around shops and stocking up the local shops in London and Essex. And I just noticed that particular time because they did a lot of dance music was kind of happening then, and they did this label called Suburban Bass, and all of a sudden things like things were starting to get big with dance music. Like there's Bizarre Inc. and Playing with Knives, a lot of these things. I mean, I wasn't really into any of it at all, but I just noticed. I used to do fans.
There's a lot of copies of these in my van.
Yeah, but then I used to get to these places in weird place in Essex on a Monday morning. You used to have all these kids queuing outside the shop because they wanted the latest record they'd heard on the weekend. So.
And what records were those? Do you remember the ones?
There's one. I think it was an awful chart record called Smarties, which was like their take on the Sesame Street. It was just all.
I played that on my radio show a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah. Just as because I found it.
Well, I always remember.
I found their second record was actually okay.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Suburban Bass it was quite an interesting label, but I didn't know anything about it. But I was pretending, I was blagging my way into it. But I remember trying to sell that record in from the distribution as well, and I think I found up this old shop and had this old guy on the phone, old boy on the phone. So look, we've got this new record and it's going to be absolutely massive. And he went, "Don't talk to me like that, son. I know I've been doing this for 50 years. I know what's going to be a hit. You know fucking nothing about me." And I was like, well, "No, it's going to be a big hit." And of course he was wrong. And that's it. That's the new replacing the old. And that was it. So, but at that particular time, so I wasn't really into it until I got a record in. They got a record in on an Interfish label, and I think it was called. Yeah, it was the Clang the Family record. It was on this Berlin label, and I listened to it. This is quite interesting. And and then I was looking at the remixes, and there was a remix by somebody called Underground Resistance. Then all of a sudden, that was like, okay, this is interesting. This is a really great remix. That was about '92.
But see, I mean, that makes sense to me based on what you said earlier, because Underground Resistance has this thing besides the music that makes it cool also.
Yeah.
The music is also good, but they got a cool logo, they got a cool non-image or whatever, and ethos and all that stuff.
Well, especially at that time, I didn't know if they were black or white.
Yeah.
I had no understanding of anything about them, and I think that was but the identity was so strong,
Yeah.
and then I started
by not having an identity. It was a huge identity.
it was. But the music was what I loved about the music. It was everything I liked previously about experimental electronic music. I mean, when the thing is, this is important as well. When people talk about electronic music these days, I mean they're pretty much talking about dance music. I mean, I talk about I'm not, so that's I don't really sort of when I talk about electronic music, I talk about DAF or Fat Gadget or stuff like that. Stuff.
Yeah, I understand when you're saying.
It's kind of confusing. It's all synthesizing music. If you want to be a real, real electronic music's music concrete anyway, sort of thing. So if you want to get really up, it's we're all making synthesizer music. So
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was there was a lot in that music I could hear that, for myself personally, that I could latch onto, because A, it's got no vocals, so you can cut the leather, the PVC trousers, and lead singer can go. And then I thought, okay, that's good. You don't need.
Oh, so you're like, I can do that too.
Well, I just thought it was a way, and I didn't necessarily like it, but I thought, okay, there's something abrasive and quite punky about it. Plus, it was the start of it as well, so it was kind of uncertain, you know.
And and the other thing too is that they also have this DIY thing, too. I don't know if you're aware of it when the records are coming over, but they pressed them themselves. They sold them.
Oh no, I was completely aware of it. I mean, I think it was that point the thing was starting to change, because I think in England we had Warp as well, you know, and LF. Obviously, I think the turning point for me, because I didn't necessarily really like modern dance music or techno, as people sort of, because Birmingham was quite important actually for that, because.
But what about? Oh, just sorry to cut you off. But what about things like that's in between that, like New Order or something like that? Would that?
Well, that's a completely different thing altogether.
But that's in between. That's
in between what?
That's in between this electronic music that you liked and a pop hit. Like
I associate that with something that's from completely before. I mean, the lineage of that is completely different.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was.
You know, I mean, everything that New Order's, it's based in something completely different.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and what we, you know.
But they just made it. They made money.
Well, I think. Well, yeah, I mean, but I think you can apply what they did to dance music, but they're not necessarily dance music.
Okay.
You know, I think it came from something embryonic that wasn't dance music necessarily, or scene based.
Okay, you answered my question.
You know, good.
I don't remember.
Happily.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, I think Birmingham's like the guy called Neil Rushton, who was basically at one time he ran Cool Cat Records, and Network Records was quite a big influence. Yeah. I think he managed Derek May and
these ones
Warren
like
Atkinson.
Network. I think of as like a American Canadian thing or something.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. It's spelled differently, but yeah, that Network's because you got manufacturing and all that kind of industry.
So that's a different.
It's completely different.
But then Martin Rushnit.
Oh no, that was
Rushnt.
That's Martin Rushnit's complete. That's
who was the guy you said before?
Hey,
you said Martin.
Did I say Martin Rushent?
I think so.
I don't think I said Martin Rushent.
Who did you think you said?
Oh my God, I didn't say that. Did I?
We'll have to rewind.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I just want what. Sorry, I'm.
Yeah, but anyway, so it was all kind of
Network Records.
Yeah.
There's a UK Network Records.
Yeah.
What is that?
What was Neil Rushton?
That's what you said.
Yeah.
Neil Rushton.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah, that's what you said before, but I thought you were.
You know what, my brain's go, but but he did this record called Detroit Techno City, the compilation on 10 Records and Virgin. That was
okay. I know that,
and that was pretty much the breakout record for a lot of those Detroit guys. I think he managed Juan, Kevin, and Derek all at the same time. Yeah. I mean, I'm not too sure how fondly people talk about him in Detroit now, but it was definitely instrumental in bringing that to Europe, especially to English, you know. But I wasn't into all of that when I first heard it. It was all very soulful for me, and it was just, you know, it wasn't really until I heard LFO where everything kind of clicked. I really understood what, you know, and that was really important.
And so you start buying these kind of records. Did you keep one foot in the industrial stuff too, or? Like, because at that same time, like Ministry or bands like that were going into this like kind of new metal stuff, even Skinny Puppy was kind of.
I was never really into that kind of American kind of guitar, anything, you know, latch a guitar onto something, and you know, I saw 9 Inch Nails on the very first tour, and they were supported by the Wolfgang Press, and Wolfgang Press just obliterated them, and it was just embarrassing for them. But that was like, I mean, I love stuff like that.
I still really, really like Pretty Hate Machine.
It's a good pop album, right? Yeah, no, it's nothing wrong with that. But I just never, it wasn't something for me really. Or maybe I felt kind of too sophisticated or something, and it was just, I never understood Americans and electronic music. It kind of, for some reason, it was always a very European thing for me. I know it's probably sound weird, but it was just but that's part of my identity.
But even so, you're saying European, but most of the stuff you're talking about is British, even.
I mean, a lot of people, but I love things like DAF as well. You know, I mean, especially
Yeah, and then like what other stuff? I mean, there's other like Belgian Front 242 and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was a bit later, and that was all. That was really, really good fun. But I mean, I love Night Sereb a lot more because they were kind of. It was just a different thing, you know. And
yeah,
it was just. It was about.
because I mean,
They understood James Brown. It wasn't just about other stuff really.
but like the '90s was a weird time because like that. What happened with the industrial music at that time? It all pretty much became techno, or
I think it
it's a
just
weird
melded.
time,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it just it just melted into sort of. I mean, that was the thing you see. So when you heard an underground resistance record, you thought, well, I can link this to really, really cool stuff. But what they were doing but they made it really hard and
Yeah.
very oppressive. But they had the great sort of funk dance slant onto it that was.
Yeah, because I guess
they made it sound really modern. You
and
know?
yeah, I guess in '90s too, even stuff like the Cabaret Voltaire
Mm.
even started doing this kind of bleep techno thing.
Yeah, they did the album at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Groovy, laid back, and nasty, and
Yeah.
then they did all that other stuff.
I really like that.
I love that
I like that
record.
song "Searchin'" a lot.
Search with 10 City on it. So
Yeah,
that
it's
is-
like Marshall Jefferson produced or
it's
something,
such a great. That is a great record.
and he kind of sings like New Order a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
But I don't, but the stuff after that, the few years after that, it becomes a lot more like warp style stuff, even or ambient.
yeah. I can't walk.
And there's one on Apollo after that.
Yeah,
It's like
that's right.
ambient kind of record.
The conversation and stuff like that. It was a good record. I mean, people they just try that. But I think it's difficult for a lot of people back then, like you're talking about New Order or anybody to sort of who were electronic music pioneers, and then all of a sudden find themselves in the middle of dance music.
Yeah,
And it just overtook them, and that's overnight. It made everything with vocals or anything else sound obsolete, really. So with this huge sort of shift, massive with dance music and what happened. So.
because I mean, and then there's other things like you mentioned, Wolfgang Press.
Mm.
In the '90s, they would started having these like kind of like breakbeat, chill out kind of a,
that album,
which I really like now.
I love. Yeah.
Somehow, but at the time I was like, what is this stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what happened to the like jangly guitar
Yeah,
stuff?
exactly. Yeah, they had that. But I love that album. That was it.
I don't know. Only know one of the singles I really like. I can't remember what the name. It's like has like a gray. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just a weird time because these some bands melded into this kind of Happy Mondays,
Yeah.
whatever that stuff was. Acid house, chill out room,
Yeah.
the Orb kind of. But then some other stuff became minimal techno which is which is a terrible word, but
It really did. Everything really kind of lost its way. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, where you could definitely define the '60s, '70s, and '80s. From the start of the decade to the end.
yeah.
The '90s became a bit more. It just became a bit weird. Really.
And you also had grunge going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Which was like somehow linked to that because it was DIY. You had Sub Pop Records, which had a history in that, and but I don't know how that relates to where you were. But I mean, because they were coming and playing, and you were selling their records at the store.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember. Especially like things like Bleach, and I mean,
Yeah.
when that came in, I thought it was an average record. I saw them on the first Sub Pop tour when they supported Tad.
Yeah.
Tad were amazing. Nirvana weren't. But
Yeah.
he was obviously special.
Yeah,
But
you can pick them out. Yeah.
but they weren't great. But Tad were amazing actually. Man.
Yeah.
Tad were great. But yeah, it's just like just kind of weird time. People, I think it was that cycle starting again, but the cycle was so weird.
Yeah.
And then I think for me personally, it really found its feet when Trésor released, especially the first track, Jeff Mills' album.
Yeah.
Because then everything just kind of clicked because it was everything I kind of wanted with music and dance music. It wasn't twee.
When did Trésor start releasing records? Is that what was their stuff before Jeff Mills?
Yeah, they did Interfish. I think that was a label they did before Trésor in the late '80s.
And what was on there? I don't.
I think the Final Cut record. I think was that one.
Okay.
They did a couple of other records as well. I think did they do a Clock DVA record?
Oh, weird.
Maybe I think I think.
But and what year did Trésor open? Do you know?
As a label, maybe '92.
And the club.
Similar.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I don't remember it being back to the '80s. So that and
well, it was in the '80s because obviously the wall was still up, and so it was still in the walled city then. But
weird.
Yeah.
It's a strange time. And so you're at home with your Pro One, and delivering these records around London, and in London, you're living on your own there, or you had
well, the funny thing was, I was living at. They'd moved offices, so yeah, I was living in the old office. I was basically squatting, and I remember I had this. I had no pillows or anything like that, so I used to have this box of. It was a Sub Pop split record. It was Jesus Lizard and Nirvana.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And I used to put my head on it. I think, Christ, I wish I'd have had that pillow now. It's
Yeah.
probably like 700 grand or something.
Yeah.
All those records, but it was pretty awful because the downstairs suite. It was just, and so it just wasn't for me really. I thought, okay, this is not working. This is not my idea of fame in London, and so maybe. So then I went back and just went back to. I stopped doing it really, and then
So you went back to Birmingham.
I went back to Brum.
So sorry if I'm going to say Birmingham. Does it offend you?
Not really.
That's the way it comes out. So you went back, and what, you're like 25 or something?
Yeah, probably 24, 23. And I thought, let's do a record. I thought, might as well give it a go.
And that you're on your own?
Yeah, well, I'm with my friend Richard.
Same guy with the pants?
Yeah, and also a friend of mine, Peter, who's a friend of mine who did stuff on my label as well. Well, our label at the time. But we started out, we didn't really have any money, but we knew this guy who ran this guest house. He was a guy called Dutch Henry. And
Was he Dutch?
He wasn't Dutch.
He smoked a lot of weed or something?
Man, I'm not too sure. Really, now looking back, it was all unsavoury. Really, he was like this older man in a guest house, and it was just all. It was called Dutch Henry, but he had this idea of wanting to start. He was into experimental music, but his idea of experimental music was something else, and he wanted to start a record label or put music out. So I said, look, no, I can put stuff out, and I can find you artists. Purely because I'd worked in showbiz up until that point, so I knew a few people, and we put a record out. And he had this record label called Zeitgeist. He said, let's call it Zeitgeist. Well, that's awful, but he's give us the money. So we put that out, and we put a couple of experimental records out that didn't sell anything. And then we did it like, yeah.
And what did they sound like?
Well, one's like really good actually. There's one called Antonym. I've since re-released these on Downwards because I kind of count these as the first Downwards records.
I don't know anything about your music. You'll have to forgive me.
Oh, it's great.
So what's it called again?
Antonym. Yeah.
Antonym.
Yeah.
Like synonym, antonym.
Yeah. He was actually he was like.
What a synonym is words that sound the same. Antonym is what?
What is it? It's like a.
They're spelled the same or.
No, isn't that
There, and there. I don't know what an antonym is.
I don't care. I think it was just his name's Anthony.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Terrible. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah, no, it is. Isn't it sort of something spelled back? Isn't it spelled backwards or something?
I can't remember what it is. We'll have to.
It is. It's something that looks. Oh, I don't know. It really does. Anyway,
They're
it's
like
a good record.
They're like spelled different, but said the same.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think that's right.
It's not right. We can look it up.
That would be my guess if I had to guess.
Yeah.
If I had to write it down.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
But so it was. We put records out, but I was kind of. But when I was in the record shop, I made really good friends with a lot of people, local people, like who were in local bands, and in particular, a guy called Mick Harris used to be the drummer of Napalm Death.
Okay.
And Mick, at that stage, he was in, and Justin Broderick, who's in Godflesh, and these all became my, kind of friends, and a sort of group of friends and people that I knew or knew me from the record shop. So, but Mick really helped us out early on with a lot of helping getting this stuff together. And
so he knew how to make records.
Well, he knew how to make records. He knew, and he was really helpful.
So you went into a studio and recorded these, or you're at your house?
Well, the first one we went into a studio.
Yeah, and so the
weird thing was it was Derek.
So it's you and Peter
and Richard
and
Antonym.
And Antonym.
Yeah, because we went. What's his?
And you go into a studio. You book some time.
Yeah.
Like what, 4 hours or something?
Well, first we asked. We got. Is it Derek or Nigel from Hines from Steel Pulse? Who's a Birmingham band, and he sort of said, "Look, lads, you can't come into my studio, but I can
hook you up with somebody.
I can put you in there." He was actually awesome.
Yeah.
He really was awesome. So he pointed us in the direction of somebody else locally, and that they helped us out, but they were just disgusted, I think, by it. And they said, "Look, lads, we'll pay you not to come back, but just here you can have this old mixing desk and stuff. So yeah, it was just.
So, so you're recording it onto tape at your house or something, and then taking it to a.
It was on DAT at that stage. Yeah,
DAT. So
yeah,
you're recording it onto a DAT machine, and then you take the DAT down to the
yeah,
pressing plant, and they master it and press it there.
yeah.
And you met these people through the Napalm Death and the Godflesh guy.
Oh, through the record shop I'd worked in
Through the record
previously.
shop.
Yeah, so we make those connections. Yeah, but
and you had saved some money, and you all put it together. And
well, yeah, I was. I mean,
the Dutch.
Well, we stopped working with him because he was. I think he
was
just
expecting
got
some return for his money.
He was big return. That was never going to come. I couldn't possibly pay him back what he wanted.
Yeah.
So it was all getting unsavoury with him, and yeah, so we just ran off. But then, but yeah. But anyway, Mick introduced. He said, "Oh well, I've got a friend who's doing some music. He's been recording in my basement toilet because he used to have a studio in his downstairs toilet." We used to have, I mean, that sounds... Cause
yeah, but it was probably like the only room that you could not bug the neighbors in or something.
Oh, fucking hell, he bugged the neighbours. Jesus
Okay.
Christ. They had so many fallouts
Yeah.
with the neighbours. But yeah, I mean, it was... but yeah, so he had his friend called Surgeon from a local... who founded one of a local club called the House of God. And I said, I'd give it a listen. And that was the first Surgeon record. And it was like, yeah, that was amazing. So instantly, I thought, yeah, I want to do a techno label now.
So when you hear this first stuff from Surgeon, what is it? Does it sound different from what you're doing, or what is it just?
No, it actually sort of there was something about it that I could really that was similar direct. It was just the energy, really, you know. And it was something about it. It wasn't just the music, man. It was something. It was something else that I could really connect with. And
had you met him before? Or,
no,
or
I hadn't. No, I hadn't
Okay.
I hadn't met him, and we just were connected via Mick, and then. Yeah, it was a big leap of faith for Tony to let us do it.
And he's a Birmingham person too.
Yeah, he was. I think it was university there, or he was something like that. But he wasn't originally. He's not originally from there, but he certainly moved there. Yeah,
He spent some years there.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, my only experience with him, I rode in a van with him one time on like a pickup, like at a festival or something. He was very nice, one of the most pleasant people to ride in a van with. But then I was somewhere else, and I like went to go in the room to watch him play, and I couldn't even go in.
Really?
I think it was like Fabric or something. It was so aggressive.
Yeah, his
it was
music.
Like, it was like some of the most aggressive thing I've ever heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Like ever.
It was, and also loud. I think it was at Fabric. I think it was I played at Fabric, and he was like in the other room, and I tried to go in there, and I couldn't. I just had to like. But then you meet him, and he's like the most pleasant person you've ever.
Oh, well, there you go. The dark side, and then you open. Yeah.
And so you hear this music. I don't know that much about this kind of music. Is his first record like? Is that what it sounds like too? Like this really like.
Yeah, I mean,
balls to the walls.
Well, of course, everything was in its infancy then. There was no real. There was nothing really to sort of, I mean, it was obviously very Mills influence, Jeff Mills influence, but this was the beginning of something.
So it's like, and it's just like, this really repetitive, I guess, and kind of one drum machine, one sequence kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And so that's what it sounded like then to you.
Yeah, well, that was the economy of it was that's what I love about music. It wasn't overblown. It wasn't,
So the only thing that I could sort of think of that is remotely like that would be that I could compare it to would be like Drop Bass Network or stuff like that. But were you aware of that stuff, or is that was a little bit later though, I guess?
Yeah, well, the first time I came to America, I was really aware of that, the whole kind of sort of thing. But this was just, so this was like '93 when we did this '93.
So these are almost happening at the same time separately.
Yeah, I mean the whole sort of everything was in its infancy. It was the beginning of everything. It was really exciting. We had no reference point where we were going to or how it was going to. We really didn't. I mean, we had no idea how long this was actually going to go. We thought we'll give it a few months, give it a few weeks, see how it goes, and then but instantly when we put that record out, we just noticed that all of a sudden everything, all the stars aligned, and it was just it became something that was
So that was probably one of the first British records that was that techno, like, but distinctly British. I don't know how to. I don't know.
I
It was
think
something new.
I think the thing about what we had, maybe possibly we had the artist and the label, and it was very much it was a unifying factor. Maybe there was other great techno artists, of course, but it was you know it was nothing that cemented it to like an identity or the label. You know, it was all very much one. You know, and then it all progressed from there. Really.
Yeah.
That's what we had. It was just kind of a clear vision, really. What we knew what we were doing, but that's because we brought ideas in from other places as well. So that was it wasn't just necessarily. We weren't about dance music. We weren't about. It was about lots of different things.
Yeah, because it's not dance music, really.
Well, it was not at all.
Yeah.
But
for some reason, it's always put in that setting.
Yeah, it was kind of. I mean, it's danceable. You can put it on. They still sound great. You know, I still love listening to those. Right, you can still hear it out, but it's a different thing. You know, it's very disciplined sort of. But it's
was there? So like at that time when Surgeon put that stuff out, is he playing live around in places, or he just?
Well, he was a DJ in a club, the local club in Birmingham, which the house was still going. I mean, it's one of the most legendary techno.
I remember that.
Legendary techno clubs, really. You know, it's still going, and it was founded by Tony and Neil and the amazing Terry Donovan and Chris Wishart and all these amazing local DJs, Paul Damage and these phenomenal DJs, and we all thought that's how techno was.
So he's making stuff to play at this club.
I mean, I think he was, but I think Tony was a lot more savvy. He had a broad, he knew what was going on the outside as well. He knew really what he wanted to do.
He went to university.
I think he started to, but then he became famous, and it was I think I ruined it for him.
So that started your label, and then stuff started rolling from there. What do you remember some next steps after that you feel like talking about? Because I mean, you probably told this story before. Like people probably ask you this shit all the time.
It's just it's
like club.
I think it's nightclubs. But no, the thing is when we put his second record out, the first record was massive. From going from selling no records whatsoever on the previous two with Dutch Henry, to like people actually wanting to do this, and then I think we pressed at 500 initially, and then that was gone, and then
repress what?
And then it's like then it goes on and on and on and on, and then then you have to do a second run that happens with it. Exactly the same thing, but even more, and then everything's selling. And then, by that stage, I thought, Christ, we've actually got a record label, but we need some artists. And I just didn't know anybody, so I thought, well, maybe I can have a look through some of my old acts and put something out that might resemble techno in a little. And I did, and that became massive as well. And it was just one of these things where it's the momentum of something happening, and it was the times, and it was really, really unique. It's just something that can't happen again, to that degree, because it was so exciting.
It can happen again, just not to you.
I don't think it can happen again.
I think it can. I mean,
well, selling records.
No,
I know. I think no, of course it can. I mean, I think excitement and music and that type of thing. No, you're quite right. But it was.
There's got to be. I mean, it just that was a special thing, a special moment for sure, and it was that. I mean, that's the thing to me is it definitely is something new. Like even Jeff Mills, and that stuff that was really new at the time. But it's not really the same. You could see where the influence is, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I don't know what people do people say that they're related or?
Well, I think initially I think it was undoubtable because you could definitely sort of see that because what Jeff Mills did was pretty much. I mean, it's boring to say it was year zero for a lot of things because up until that stage things had been sort of maybe melodic. People want it was tuned into. So what Jeff Mills did is a very, very direct way of making dance music happen, and it was and better for it because people still to this day adhere to that blueprint,
Yeah. And
and then all of a sudden it just started really, really taking off, and we thought, then I thought maybe I should take this a bit serious.
And so now you're a transatlantic father.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Sorry,
Oh, dear. Well
that's
done.
where it got you.
You got it.
That was the beginning.
Well, that, yeah.
But
Oh.
but I mean, that seems like that was the moment. Beside, this is the next moment after Elvis.
Definitely.
So you
Well, the thing was, it kind of the thing. It was, but it was exactly how I imagined it in my own head. I didn't imagine my life taking any other course because, like I said, there was no plan B. This is the only thing I could do. So it just happened, and it was just hard work, and that's what we did. And we just started doing gigs and stuff, and then all of a sudden I got this sort of an email. I was getting email. There's no email then. Jesus, I got faxes. Cause that's when you knew you were in business, when you got a fax machine. And I used to have the fax machine going on. I used to ring at night and everything. I used to look at it, and I think, oh, Josh Winks just texted me. Who's this person from EMI Japan wanting to know who our press agent is, because they want our press agent because they can't believe we're selling so many records. We're selling more than them in territories. I think Surgeon's first album sold 1,000 records in one shop in Japan.
Jesus.
In one shop. So it was just...
Well, I mean, that's the thing that people recognize when there's a new thing happening and they want to be like, oh, I got their record the day it came out.
I'm just thinking, people used to play records. It was functional. It was kind of interesting. So it was
yeah, and that's the, another thing about that is, DJ culture is in full swing at that point by 90s. And it's pretty mature because, people have been mixing records now for, 20 years or so.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, that's the funny thing. I mean, the thing is,
so it's
in the States, that's definitely, in New York, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the first person I was still in the 80s and the late, the early 90s. It was still, let's play a record, let's introduce something and play the next record. Then
so it was not as...
Give a birthday request. Then I think the first time I was ever aware of somebody actually mixing two records together, I think it was like Andy Weatherall.
Okay.
Like maybe like early 90s, and I was at a club and thought, wow, I know something's happened.
Yeah.
I know it's not the same as it was 10 minutes ago, but I wasn't aware of how it's happened. And I think that Weatherall was the first person I ever saw do that, and that was pretty amazing because then had.
But you, I mean, were you aware? I mean, that you were making stuff like for a DJ? Like these records are they sound like they're made to be mixed. Is what that was my point. Is
no, not at all. No, I mean, I think I had no understanding about dance music. I think somebody. We had all these things in the beginning because it was so successful. Like record labels used to phone us up. I think it was actually because one of our early catalogue numbers was very similar to Mr. C's catalogue. I mean, I think one of his one of his company phoned us up and said, "Well, you got the same catalogue number as us. This is just not on." And
we'll change it.
They said, "Can you change it?" The thing was because I think somebody had contacted them for a massive licensing deal. And it wasn't them, it was us. So we got it. So anyway, we got into the conversation. Oh, yeah, well, because he was interested. And he said, well, what BPM do you... And I had no understanding. I didn't know what a BPM was, so I said 4,000.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I thought it sounded like a fair ballpark figure, 4,000 BPM. And he just like, you thought he was taking the piss and stuff. Because I had no idea at that stage. Yeah, all I was doing, I was timing it sort of... I think I timed it to a Donna Summer record.
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's almost dance music, so that will do. But I think I sped it up or something, so it wasn't the right sort of... I think I was... And plus it was like a lot of it was made on I made it on an Atari ST, so it was like really weird tempos and stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember. How did they set the BPM on that thing? I don't remember how it works. I used Octamed one time or twice. Or something.
I can't remember. It didn't work.
Yeah. No, it's pretty tight, though, actually.
Yeah, maybe.
It just scrolls.
You know what? I couldn't even remember how any of that works anymore. I can barely remember how the stuff I got at the moment works. I was not really a technical person, really. But
yeah, I mean, people. Yeah, I had some friends that still use that, and I would go there and we'd make stuff, and they would it just scrolls. That's all I remember. I don't remember like how you set the tempo.
I'm sure it's like a little button somewhere.
But I mean that's just for me. Like I could see why. I wasn't aware of this. In 1995, I was probably full. I was listening to the Discord and that kind of stuff, Stereolab or whatever. The more indie stuff. I wasn't aware. To me, I guess I was a bit aware of like the Warp, or Aphex Twin or stuff like that. But techno was still, to me, I had this junglist. I thought it was like a candy raver and like this thing. I wasn't aware of that
Well,
stuff
America
at all.
was America was really odd. I mean, that's the first one because like we
Yeah.
were kind of we were kind of used to, or Europe, we were used to like doing our stuff. Then for '95 it was really kicking off. For '94, '95 it
Yeah.
really kicked off. So we were very used to it. So I got like a fax one night. I said, "Well, do you want to come and play America for the first time?" Of this kid called Dan from Edison, New Jersey. And so I said, "Yeah, okay." Well, I said, "Of course, I want to come and play live. I mean, I can't play live, but I thought I'm going to get a free trip to America because
Yeah.
that was all. Because that's all I really wanted to do. That was great. We've made it. So yeah, I always so we were really the third wave of the British invasion because we came over the same time as the Spice Girls. So it was so I can remember coming over on Virgin and that was like massive, and
Yeah.
we thought we'd made it. So,
Jesus Christ.
but yeah, we just ended up in Edison, New Jersey, with Dan.
Do you
I mean,
remember
Dan Clip.
who's Dan's last name? Do you know?
I do. I can't. Well, I'll say this now. Dan's really huge lobbyist now in Washington. You can see him on the Fox channel. He's got his own show and everything. It's pretty insane. But people know him as Dan DC back then. I won't say Dan's name. You can see people who know him. But yeah,
No, he's a Republican.
yeah. Well, I mean, but it's kind of it's just so funny because he's on. You can see him. All comments are disabled on his YouTube because everybody knows what he was up to. So anyway, he brought us over here, and that was pretty mad because I think the first gig I ever did in my life was in Philadelphia, and we were just because we were still.
This is 1995.
This is 96.
96.
So we just got into New York just at the end of the real interesting stuff. So
Yeah.
I felt I just got here just at the tail end of everything being really great. You know, so
But it was still.
it was amazing. Though.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it was
I'm
just.
sure Philly was pretty rough back then too.
Fuck. I mean, America was just like so odd because I just expected it to be like Europe, but
No.
kids were just like sitting on the floor. There was no, you used to go to a club, but they were just sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, and it was just so. This is a different cult, completely
Yeah.
different.
Well, I think it was pretty drug heavy.
Yeah, it was. Well, yeah. That was the thing. You see a lot of the people that I came
Like
over.
they didn't drink. There would be like no alcohol.
There's no alcohol, and
Yeah.
I didn't. We just
Yeah.
didn't understand
Yeah.
that like, no alcohol. But these.
It was easier to get drugs than it was to get alcohol as a
So
teenager.
brutal, and I came over
Yeah.
and everyone was like all these baggy clothes and everything. It seemed so old-fashioned, and it was just so weird. But I kind of really loved it, and it was so Dan Clifton was great, and then we played Chicago. But we didn't realise that particular time because we were just the old European way of doing it. So I had all my backing tracks on DAT. I did some. That was disgusting. Obviously, Americans were disgusted by that because I thought, oh well, that's like, and it was just you can't do that because you need 303, and there was like I think it was all these people who were like disgusted by it, and that was kind of an eye opener. To be honest, I thought, okay, maybe we might need to rethink this American thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, you didn't have. There was no way to know what it was gonna be like.
It was insane because everyone was just kids then, really, you know.
Yeah.
And but Dan had a really good. We were just looking. I mean, all I was looking at just coming into the city. That's all I cared about. So Dan had a really good friend in the city. He said you can stay with him, and it was just this place on 30th Street between 7th and 8th. Just opposite Rogue. It was Dave, and it was Dave Sumner. It was Dave Sumner. You know, it was Dave, and we stayed with Dave. When we first met him, it was horrible. It was miserable, horrible. But he just looked at us, didn't want to. But but we stayed. we were there, and but no, it was amazing actually. Him and his roommate. But they had this amazing apartment just there, and it was just you looked out the window, huge ceiling to floor windows, and you had the Empire State Building there.
Yeah.
And you're looking over.
But that's
Penn
right.
Station,
That's
the
where
garden.
Limelight is right there.
I think his Limelight was a bit further down, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Pretty close.
and but it was a really at that particular time it was we were really living out our own with the stars of our own B movie, and it was just amazing. It was just but no, we obviously became really close friends. I mean, Dave, Rogue Music I think was on the 10th floor. They lived on the 15th. Dave worked at Rogue Music. He only had to go down 5 flights at the elevator. He got fired for being late, which was great. So, but we had access to all this gear down there at Rogue Music, and we didn't take advantage of any of it, obviously. So just. So yeah, I mean, I came to New York then, and I was pretty sort of straight edge then, really. But I left it with just like
Until you came to New York.
Yeah, no, it was at that particular time. Yeah, no, I can thank Dave Sumner for that particularly. You know, that was it was and then it was another 20 years of trying to get away from that. But it was yeah. But it was just like a weird generation of kids those New Yorkers that I thought were normal.
Yeah.
It was like the gangs of New York. I mean, Dave and Adam X, and obviously his brother Frankie Bones and stuff like that. And they ran the shop on,
Carmine.
Sonic Groove on Carmine Street.
Yeah.
It was just all these really larger than life characters. They were like gangs of New York. They're just street urchins with horrible just way of being. They're just so nasty and vicious, and I thought it was fabulous, to be honest. They were just all getting into fights, and
I guess that is. You don't think about it. I don't. It didn't seem weird to me. I would think that's just how Americans were. That was like that, especially that generation. It was like cool to be tough and not give a shit. And
since then, every other generation I've met since then has been great in New York. So really is this generation of kids, and things like Maria 909. All the women were even rougher than the blokes. It was hardcore. And it was just. You didn't turn up at somebody's show. They'd get completely offended about it. Then they'd have a fight with you on the street, and it was just fantastic hyper reality. You know.
I mean, even recently, I played with not recently, but probably like 2006 or 8 or something. I played with him in Philly, and the promoter didn't pay us, and so he stole the promoter's wallet and took
who did
Adam, and took the turntables also.
That's so normal.
Yeah, I mean, and that wasn't. It was like, okay, that's what you do when you don't get paid.
But that's
take their ID.
That's take the right to take their ID. They're urchins. That's the way they are. I mean, they're just a bunch of.
But I like.
But I love it. They're just like dear friends, and But they were all really. I mean, especially. I mean, Dave was doing he was starting off his stuff at the time as well, recording his stuff, and he was on Sine Wave, and he did a really proto. His first record was actually, it's amazing because it was out of step for the time, but it really signalled the way a lot of minimal techno kind of followed and stuff. It was quite revolutionary for the time.
That's another person that, for some reason, I never met him before in my life.
Okay.
I have good friends that are like really close with him, but for some reason I just never came across him. I don't know why.
Well, he's one of my dearest, closest friends. But if I ever see him again in my life, I'll kill him. I just never want to see him again. But he's one of the dearest, closest people I know.
That's good. Sounds nice.
So goes for all of them. They're all just like nutters, man.
Yeah. Well, nobody. I mean,
you know what I used to hate about New York at that time? They used to have those car alarms that you just keep to go off. And they used to have like, and then they have like, I used to hear all night. It was so annoying.
Yeah, I just sleep with a fan on full blast all year round.
Okay.
Yeah, I just need my white noise.
Yeah. I don't think that doesn't happen anymore. It's kind of
there's
a lot
no more car
gentle.
alarms. Yeah, it's pretty safe here now. I think. I mean, I didn't move to New York till 1999, so I really caught the tail end of the clubbing. But I mean, I definitely was at Sonic Groove a lot, and I still see Frankie Bones quite regularly. Like at least once a month he comes into the shop. He said he would come do the podcast, which I thought
that would be amazing.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I would get Adam on too. He did my radio show before, I think, when I did an interview. Well, I'll get all those guys on.
Yeah, I've seen Adam recently, actually, quite a few times.
Yeah, I guess he's living in Berlin now.
Well, that's it with Dave as well. I mean, I can't. When I think of New York, I think of them too.
Yeah, so it's weird when you come here now.
It's kind of weird. I mean,
nobody lives in Manhattan anymore. I don't know. I mean, it's starting to go back a little bit. Yeah. Some people are there, but I don't know anybody.
Well, New York in general. I think for me. I mean, it was always Manhattan for me. I never really understood Brooklyn, to be honest. So it was always this kind of. Yeah. So I think when Dave did move here, I just never understood it really. I think it was kind of
it's weird. None of us are. No one. We're not from here.
Yeah, it's kind of
like I've been here 20 years, but I'm still not.
Yeah,
from here.
It kind of wasn't as fun as it. It wasn't as fun, but because Manhattan didn't. It stopped being the playground. You couldn't. It wasn't the likes of us couldn't be there anymore. That's it, especially.
But I mean, it was pretty lawless. Like once you got past the bouncers and you were in a club, you could freely drink, do drugs, have sex, smoke whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that was the problem.
The worst thing would happen when we get into a fight with somebody.
Well, there you go, Dave and Adam X. I mean,
Yeah.
Dave, even before you get in, I mean, the best thing about Dave is that he started a fight at Ground Zero with one of the security guards. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
just for a laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids are. Well, it wasn't a laugh. I mean, the thing is, he always has a point about something, but he just
He's righteous or something.
Yeah, but he is. But oh my god, it was so. Oh my god, this. I mean, him and Adam usually have fights actually before they even get in the nightclub. You
Oh.
know,
I don't. Yeah, that whole like "don't disrespect me" kind of thing.
it's so funny. But Dave worked at Limelight for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was a resident there as well early on. But yeah, he worked for. Yeah, he introduced me to a lot of people. People like Arthur Weinstein, who was obviously legendary Arthur Weinstein from the Mug Club and everything. And I think he worked for Gation then as well at that time. So it was a really interesting time. All these people, all these sort of those characters. I don't want to say those characters don't exist anymore. Of course they do, but they were kind of quite interesting characters for New York.
I'm sure they're still around. We're just in so deep now we don't realize it or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just in general. I can't see that anywhere really.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just like.
Well, you're probably not hitting the clubs like you used to.
The problems I do.
Well, yeah, you're probably just in and out.
Well, yeah, but I'm still there.
You're not waiting in line.
Well, the problem
you're not
is-
dealing with the bouncers and stuff.
No.
It's a different. When you're waiting in line, a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah, I don't wait in line.
No, I know.
No. Back door.
Yeah, but but you know what I mean. Like that whole part of that's a whole part of your night. You got to buy tickets somewhere. You got to wait in line. You got to meet your friends. Go to dinner. You're not having all that experience anymore.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I think I was just too old for it then, because I've always done it from this side of the fence. Really,
Yeah.
I never really did it as
As a
anything else.
club goer.
As a club goer, really, I was never a club goer. But.
So this this in late '90s. You're going to New York a lot. You meet these guys.
Yeah.
And are they coming over to Europe? To
Yeah.
UK?
I mean, Dave was very closely involved with Downwards, and we worked quite a lot together. So we'd invite Dave to come over, and he DJ'd on a lot of our early tours, especially in Spain. So we had a lot of scrapes. Yeah, it was really good.
So you're going to play. Spain was really a good place to go play in the 90s.
We used to start there on a Thursday, and we used to come back Sunday. We used to play 4 times a week there, and if we played Spain maybe like 12 times a month.
Yeah.
It was just insane.
12 times a month?
A month, yeah.
12 times a month.
Thursday to Sunday, come back. Thursday to Sunday, come back. Because at that point...
Why didn't you just move there?
Well, the thing was, I know, because that would have ended in a disaster. Well, death. Because the thing is, at that point, Spain, every little town and the whole place had a nightclub, and obviously the owner of the nightclub, the local honcho, was obviously the drug dealer of all of it. But every little town had it.
Yeah.
So you could play every little town in Spain, and it was just insane.
And they would just take care of you.
And they would just take care of you.
Yeah. And so you partied for a few years.
That's about, a lot. But it was, because like I said to you, I didn't really know what was going on, so I went. Well, I'm in rock and roll, I might as well do it, really.
So you stayed based in Birmingham, and you just kept making records.
For a long period of time, kept making records, and then we had like another friend of mine who'd worked in distribution previously, Tony. He said, "Why don't we start our own distribution company?" And we did that. So we started our own distribution company.
And what the name of that was?
That was Integral Music.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's weird that's you. I would remember seeing that.
Those promos everywhere.
Yeah.
Because the idea was to put something back.
Mm-hmm.
Never a good idea. I'd never advise anybody to put something back. Just take everything you can and run, because it was.
But what are you going to put back?
Give something back to the community.
So
the people, give people a chance.
So
They don't deserve
doing
none
a
of them.
distribution is charity.
Well, I think we tried to sort of give people a chance, and that was it wasn't and it went really well.
But for a while,
as usual.
Yeah,
it was great. It was just,
And then you start, and then you get these records that don't sell, and then they pile up. And
well, even then it was like, it was. We just couldn't understand where we were selling all these records and where the money was going, and it was just all these kind of weird stuff. I think it's just when you got a bunch of kids involved with this, it was just just weird, and then it was.
And that was based in.
I was based in Birmingham,
and you had like a office and stuff.
Yeah, the office and everything, and we employed a lot of kids.
And you're the boss.
One of the three. Yeah, imagine that.
Who had the most authority?
Well, that was the problem. Yeah, you see, that's
There
the
was some-
problem.
some-
No authority. It was a community sort of thing between three people, so it was all a mess.
And so you distributed records, and this was strictly techno stuff, or
Yeah, it was all techno, really. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, I don't remember it being.
and it was kind of weird because we just employed a lot of our people from America. Carl Meyer from one of the Meyer brothers from Chicago, he came work for us, and he was sitting in the corner on the computer. And I used to say to my other business Tony, he said, "What's he doing on the computer all day?" And he's on this new thing. It's crap. I don't know what it's called. It's the internet. I said, "What's that?" And I said, "I don't know, but he's been on it all day." And I said, "Oh, what a waste of time.
Yeah.
What's it doing?" And he said, "It's like, yeah." So Carl was like,
Selling your records.
well, he wasn't selling the records. It was
No,
just
no.
it was the internet didn't work to that sort of degree. But it was just I thought, God, what a waste of time. How can anybody possibly waste the time doing that all day on the computer? So yeah, it was just weird. But he was, so that was the first sort of taste of the internet, really.
And you're 30.
I was 27 or
27.
something. Yeah.
And this is 2001. 2099.
97.
Oh, 97.
No,
Okay.
97, 98, yeah.
So this is a lot of stuff happened in these few years. So you put out one record, and somehow you made enough money to start a distribution company.
Well, we just did really well, you know. We did, you don't have to have a lot of money to start a distribution company, to be
Yeah.
fair. But yeah, we just.
But it's a lot of work because the shipping records are heavy, and you
Yeah,
need a
no,
place to
but
keep
Tony
'em.
was great because he had previous experience. He still does it. He's still got one in Berlin. He does ready-made in Berlin. He's quite,
does he?
Yeah, he's still doing it, you know.
Mm.
So, but yeah, it's just when you're a load of kids doing, you don't know what you're doing, and it's yeah.
How long did it last for?
About 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was really, really good. So, while it lasted, but then the wheels fell off, and yeah.
And
market.
but this whole time this starts your techno life. You're really traveling and DJing and.
Well, I never DJ'd.
Oh, you only play live.
Yeah, I only I got kind of a
Only
live
played with a backing track.
Well, yeah, I sort of soon thought, well, okay, I need to maybe get a set together. And I used
Mhm.
MPC for years, and yeah, it was never kind of the nightclub thing. I never really sort of saw myself as an artist or even wanted to be an
So
artist.
you just
It was
brought your MPC on them.
brought my MC and battered them, and that was it really. I did a lot of ADAT stuff for a while. I wanted to be like this sort of Adrian Sherwood, would do a lot of reggae dubs and everything like that. Like people didn't understand that either, so and
So you would mix the ADAT with the
yeah, and
MPC.
dubs and but it kind of never worked because those things were so fragile and they used
Yeah.
to come out in bits and it never used to work. But yeah, did loads of tours with people like DJ Hell in the early days and stuff like that. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
But it's just my problem was I don't think I kept my eye on the ball really. To be honest, after coming to New York, I think we didn't stop celebrating until the end of the 90s. And by that time we realised, oh shit, maybe things had changed a bit as well by then. So
Yeah. And so you put out a few records and they got popular, and then you kept touring, and then I guess the record industry kind of stopped or something at one point there.
Yeah.
I know like Syntax went out of business. I remember around.
Syntax, yeah. Who's Syntax? Nicodemus, wasn't it?
A
Syntax?
lot of people worked there. You're like,
Well, we had got a lot of good friends who worked at Watts.
yeah, Watts
Watts were
distribution.
great. A really good friend, Colin Strange, used to work there. I mean, he used to. I think how do you, I mean, the thing was he used to work with Harry the Bastard, who was from I think he got deported from New Zealand. But like Colin used to get in Monday morning. Used to like 4 or 5 grams of coke, do all the one sheets, and that was it. And that was Watts really.
Jeez.
So it was Watts, Syntax, and who else was there?
I mean, there's downtown, but there
was something else as well. There was who's that woman who ran that other one?
Judy Weinstein and
Well, Judy's actually
they're still
isn't
they still exist. Downtown 161. It's
Judy,
still going.
Is Judy's? She's not Arthur's.
No, yeah. There's Judy Russell, Judy Weinstein, and then that's the one that was part of a leftover from the Paradise Garage kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that one still exists now. But
maybe that's Arthur's.
they got new owners.
Okay. So there's all that.
There was a bunch of them.
Syntax, and it was all that kind of time really when it was just.
And there was Safety in Numbers.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah. And
There was another one. There was another one. That woman ran it. She's brutal.
Who?
I don't know. This is really boring. But
No,
yeah.
I'm just curious though.
Yeah, I can. I'll remember. I'll email it with the Flying Pickets record.
um, yeah. So, but 9/11 happened. I don't. It was around 9/11, kind of before and
Mm.
after.
Well,
All this distribution stuff just kind of, and Sonic Groove had to move.
I think you know what
And
I think everything finished for
yeah,
me personally.
yeah.
It was kind of weird. I don't think I came back to New York for a while after that.
And was
And
it?
I think somebody really I think it was something actually Anthony Parasol said. It was almost a generation lost their clubbing etiquette. But people just didn't go out or didn't.
Yeah.
A whole it was like a few years of people who forgot how to club, which seems like ridiculous, but there was this weird thing that never really happened. And it was New York never really kind of for me personally. New York has been a different place since then. Anyway, for so many reasons. For so many reasons.
I mean, I talked about this before with other people, but there was like Electro Clash or whatever. But I feel like, there was this whole period between 2000 and 2010. It feels like the clubbing, kind of retreated. There was different parts of it. There was like, the like the DFA kind of rock disco.
Yeah, that's about, yeah.
And then there was like the gay scene kind of splintered off. And then there was minimal techno kind of was kind of a sort of a proper techno club experience, but nobody went to that stuff. And then there was like another group of people that just kind of went to these like fashion parties, like downtown fashion parties, and that's kind of where I went, because you would play in a hotel lobby or a hotel bar, and you would get paid okay, and you could have someone come play, and they could stay in the hotel.
But you see, I think that's what New York became. It became
this like red velvet rope kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You've made it if your band plays in a loft somewhere in Chelsea or something. It almost seemed, it was just weird. It was just it was just the whole thing, that really gritty edge and those sort of hooligan types.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We're complete. They sort of
Because the thing I think about before is you think about music changes, with new technology, and what you brought up today makes me think differently because I always thought directly about the music. Like music changed when they brought in the electric guitar, or they brought in the keyboard, or they brought in the computer. Now, if you put culture in with that, then you can say music changed when they brought in the internet. Like something happened, with music culture.
Well, it did because we sell, and we operate, and we live on one platform now. Where that just didn't happen before.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no, when people talk about underground, whatever underground is, it's a redundant term, but it's impossible to be anything other than because we exist on one platform.
Oh, because underground was a different. It was regional.
Yeah, well, exactly. You could
these networks that were.
Yeah, you could exist away from everything, But now it has to be. You have to sort of sell or be on one platform,
Yeah.
It like I said, it changed overnight. It looks the same. I mean, music looks the same.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds the same, but it's completely different. It's just completely different to what it was. I mean, people sort of say there's vinyl resurgence and everything, but
that's not. Yeah, that's
the
just
pink. Just because it's Dark Side of the Moon or Bat Out of Hell's being repressed on green vinyl makes no difference to anything.
No, but I think it's got to get. It's gonna be. There's gonna be something cool. There's gonna be. It's gonna. You're not gonna realize it exactly when it happens, but
I don't want us to realise it.
No,
people like I just want people like us not to realise it, and they're just like Jesus, and just be like like my granddad, just thinking this is disgusting, get up, being so offended by it, and walk out. And that's exactly the way it's got to be. That way, it has to be that way.
Yeah. You don't want to know about it.
We don't want to know about it because it offends us on every level so badly that we just want to turn our backs on it.
I mean that's kind of the way I feel about like it's already happening to me now. It's like you feel about fashion now. It's like the way people dress now. It's like to me, I'm kind of okay with some of it, but some people I'm just like that is so bad. Like the clothes people are wearing now.
In what way?
I don't know. I mean, like,
I think I know what you mean.
These like big ass filas or whatever, like
right, okay.
Just whatever they're wearing, like they're like it's like ugly on purpose or something, or it's just But then you realize that it's just a rebellion to whatever was cool before, like.
Well, that's all it is.
Yeah, but then then you realize the cycles now. It's like like I really like skateboarding a lot. And I follow it like current skateboarding, and I see the kids now. Like there's one kid, he like skater of the year, one of the best skaters. And he kind of dresses like Beavis and Butthead.
Right.
Like he wears like jean shorts and like weird socks and like kind of like low profile shoes, and like,
Ironic.
and like a bad T-shirt. No, but I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's just for me like, and it's the same thing we said before. Is like when you live the cycle the first time,
I guess
and then
you-
it comes back around again. You're like, I don't know if I can do it this time.
I think I think it's the third time round. That's the real.
third
That's the second time round. Well, this is great. I recognise this. I
Yeah.
recognise.
yeah,
But the third time round, so no, stop.
yeah.
You know. And if you're lucky to get a fourth time, I don't know what happens then.
But I don't want to be these like like old man get off my lawn kind of stuff either. I'd like to keep progressing. Like
Well, I think it's unsavoury to be down with the kids. I think it's you don't want to be Dutch Henry. I think you've got to be the old man get off the lawn. It's important because then they can annihilate us, and that's exactly the way it should be. I know it's like terrible, but we have to. It's like Logan's Run. It should be should all be sort of annihilated by the time of 30. Get on carousel, I'm blown up.
but
and
you're
stuff.
still going, man.
I'm still going. They can't stop me. Not yet. Well, I don't know. It's just like it's.
But it seems like this really fast techno is in style again. Are you getting more gigs or what?
It's just.
You're still going.
I think the thing is, I think I still get gigs by default. I'm not because I'm not dead. I think that then all of a sudden think, okay, they must be okay because you're not dead.
So you've reached
Possibly.
like another level.
It's that kind, respect. I certainly
You-
haven't reached that level, but it's
Not quite, almost. Maybe
almost.
5 more years.
That's the thing about almost. It's almost there. It's in touching distance, but
Then
it's
you
always elusive.
then you can like yeah, I don't know. I don't
No,
know what the benefits are.
I don't. I mean, I never seen it as a career. I think a lot of people sort of see DJing now as a real career, where I just didn't
Yeah, that's
see that
weird,
because
right?
because it was really new and exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people do really do that. A lot of people have managers now.
Yeah.
I mean, for God's sake, if you can't if you can't pick up a USB stick and bring that and put that in on your own.
But it should be a good. It seems like it should make things better now that everybody has access to it.
What dance music?
Yeah, it shouldn't it should like elevate. Since like now everybody can do it. The people that are really good at it should be able to rise up.
I think the thing was, I think pre-internet, I think we were talking about before that
Yeah.
there was always lots of strains of dance music,
Yeah.
but the shit music was over there, and you knew it was over there. You could see it over there. But now the problem is, it's next to you. What I think is bad music. It's on, and you can't. You can't really. People really can't define what it is because it kind of looks the same. It's all the same.
Yeah,
It's just,
what is that? That's so weird. That's that thing again. Is that when there's something that is so close to what you like, but you know it's a poser, and I know it's a poser, and
Surely
but-
everybody
but
else should,
somebody
but
from the
nobody-
outside looks at it, and you're like pretty much the same.
Yeah.
For some reason, that stuff is so bad. I don't know why it hurts so bad. Like,
Oh,
why?
it hurt. Of course it hurts. But but that's the way it is. I mean, I've stopped. I mean, haven't got too much invested in it really anymore. I mean, if I'm to be honest with you, I enjoy going out and doing
Yeah,
it, but
yeah.
it's just like it's not really.
And you wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun when you're playing.
No, I do enjoy it a lot more now.
Yeah.
I still do enjoy it. I mean, some nights are,
Well,
some nights are better than the others. but,
once you're up there and playing, it's always pretty fun.
yeah,
Once
it's
you get through
great.
all the dinner and the
really-
travel and
yeah.
the hotel, but when you're up there and
Yeah,
you're not waiting to play, you're not waiting for your money or whatever.
yeah.
It's-
God, I wish you could wait for money again. It's like you don't even see it anymore.
Yeah.
I love the old days when you.
have to sit
Yeah.
sit till the end and wait for the like resident DJ to finish.
Then you'd be in the office at the end with
Yeah,
all-
with some weird guy snorting coke. And
with, and he's 5 minders and everything, and they're getting 300 pesetas out the back
Jesus.
for you. And
Get paid in like weird single bills.
400 lira in
30.
your back pocket and a 7 guilders and 15 Deutschmarks and
Oh.
stuff. It used to be great. You used to get home after those gigs and think, I've made it, and you change it up. You have about £5 or
Yeah,
something.
you have no idea how much you
It's
just got
like,
paid.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't. I didn't really do it. I haven't did it. I just do
you
it.
did it a lot,
Not really. A couple of years, 2 or 3 years. I mean,
That's good. You're sensible.
yeah, it wasn't quite worth it for me. It's too much. It's too hard on you. It's hard on your. Not living in Europe, it's hard.
it's impossible.
Yeah,
It's really really difficult.
you have to be a tough person.
A lot of the Detroit guys used to have to travel week in week out back to Detroit. You know, they're just hardcore, man.
Yeah,
But they're grafters, people who work and hard for it. That's what you have to do. I mean,
yeah.
because I think people like myself as well. That I know the alternative. You know, the alternative is doing jobs that just
Yeah.
soul zappingly destroying. You know, and I just know. I always know the alternative. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, but yeah, how long do you think? How long do you think you're gonna have to go till you die, or are you gonna? Do you have like a? You haven't thought about it. Just
Sort of like dying.
no, not thought about dying. Like thought about stopping.
Yeah, well, I think about stopping all the time, but then I think about starting again and doing. No, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's not like a job. You can't retire. You know, you do it because that's what you do. I mean, it's like.
But so now, like, if you're making a new record, it's you're.
Well, I haven't. I don't really make a lot of records. I mean, I have actually virtually got a new album ready for the first one for a long time. I mean.
And were you like you're making it because you know that's like part of the game, or you're
Well, no,
really
'cause
like feel like doing it?
Well, I'm one of those people. I'm very fortunate because I mean I haven't made an album for 20 years.
Yeah.
So I've still got I've been involved with things like other stuff, obviously with Dave, with Samuel District,
Yeah.
and Blackest Ever Black, and all these other. I'm involved with music, but I've never really done anything on my. I don't do it to get gigs. No, that's for sure.
So how did this like when you're making a record? Is it this is like stuff from like what the past 5 years or took a while, or you sat down and did it all
No,
in one?
I did it this summer. I sort of really
All in one summer.
I really sat down and sort of thought, this is what I want to do, and it came together.
And where you're doing this at your house, or you got a?
Yeah, well, I've done it in various locations actually. I've done it in first time ever. I just want to sort of do something slightly different. I didn't want to just be that home producer.
Yeah.
I want to sort of do things in different studios. I worked in like Einstutzen's Neubauten studio in Berlin. I worked in
So you had
Studio
like
Milan.
big metal sheets and you're just banging on shit.
I couldn't touch their sheets.
You got the grinder out.
Yeah, but they're great. They're great producer, Boris. We went in there. One of the bands that I work with, My Disco, he was playing bass on it. And it's not really a dance record, but it's something. I mean, if you really want to if you're talking about moving forward as an artist and really want to try and do something truly brave, you have to really break out of what you've done previously.
So you really had this idea of a concept of something you wanted to try, or you were just like, I'm just going to go to the studio and see what.
Well, it was in my head. It was like I said, I live in my head, so it's
Yeah.
completely natural for me to do what I do. It's you can trace that. You can trace what it's got traces of what I do in it, Regis in it. So we'll see how it works out. But it doesn't. We'll see how it works out.
But what I mean, I don't understand. Like, what is your process? Like, I'm gonna go in. Like me thinking, if I'm gonna go into somebody else's studio, I'm always like, where's the Pro One? Or like, I like gravitate toward these instruments that I know. But if if you had that opportunity to go into someone's studio like that, which is probably a completely different environment than you're used to, like what do you take out of there? Are you?
I think as you get in there, there's like the synergy and stuff. There's an amazing feeling with space or a recording space when you have to create something from scratch.
Mm.
I mean, at home we're very used to editing now in our lives. We can sit at home, we can edit a track to
Yeah.
the life out of it. But to actually create something in a space, that's really interesting. I mean, it's not dance music. I mean, that dance music doesn't work that way. Techno or house doesn't work that way. You have to do that at home.
But it's electronic music.
Synthesizer music.
But with the big metal sheets.
A bit of that, bit of bass, but just.
Are you like
just
sampling
bass.
stuff? Or
Yeah,
like
just like heavily sampling stuff, but then recording stuff live as well.
And you're still using the MPC, or you're just some kind of similar sequencer thing with your computer?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like
Because
like
Ableton.
yeah,
is pretty good
Ableton
now.
stuff like all that type of stuff. It was just I use that as you would a 24-track tape recorder. I don't use that as a tool for production.
Yeah.
But there's just get sound sources from everywhere, really.
But so you're like when you have an idea, are you like, okay, I'm gonna play this keyboard line, or I want to sample this sound? And
Yeah,
combine
I
them
mean, I
together?
suppose it's instinctive, isn't it? Making music, it's instinctive. I never really sort of.
But yeah, I mean, you don't like start off with the 4/4 kick or something, or
Well, I really do 4/4 music. I find that I gravitate towards other stuff. I can pin it down to a 4/4 beat, something else within the track. But yeah, it's just breaking with tradition of what I've done, and I just want to do something that's quite interesting, and
And so this is a Regis record,
Regis record,
a Regis LP, quadruple vinyl.
gatefold.
Everyone is.
It actually might be a gatefold.
gatefold, and
I mean, we're in the end times now. Who knows? This might be the last record. That by the next time there might not be records left. Just so this is it.
I don't know. I mean, do you want to put out a record?
Yeah.
You want there to be a record? I'm not sure anymore.
No, I agree with you. No, I'm completely with you. I mean,
I kind of want to do CDs, but there's no way people are going to buy CDs.
I just love CDs so much.
I do too, but there's no way.
I adore CDs so much. I mean, I buy them all the cheap ones up now because everyone's, all of a sudden you can acquire, if you wanted, jazz for instance, you could acquire the greatest jazz collection for about under $50 or something because people don't want it.
But that's the thing. But that's just because I'm cheap.
Me too.
Like, I don't care what form. I don't really like tapes that much, but
no.
That's the reason why I bought records, because they were cheap. They were cheaper than CDs, so you bought them. And, sometimes it was the only way. But then now CDs seem to be cheaper than records.
Yeah.
But nobody even has a CD player, or they have, I don't know.
Well, this is why...
You still need something, though, like...
Yeah. No, I love CDs. I'm completely with you on that. But I just don't understand stuff anymore. I mean, I didn't only till recently realise CDs weren't CD players. You couldn't really buy them, and there was no CDs in computers anymore. I just didn't even.
They don't even have them in cars now. There's just like a aux plug
and stuff, So it's almost like everything does pass me by. I'm kind of existing in the world in some sort of way, but I'm kind of clinging on to something that doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you still have to put out a record. It's some kind of a whatever.
No, I do. I think I do like it for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, for many reasons, I'm not too sure if it's going to be viable for people to do that.
Yeah.
In the future, but that's just the way it is. That's nothing against the format. That's just.
No, I like records too, but. Fun to look through. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just the whole digging thing. In the thing, okay, that's digging. Yeah. That really is truly digging. Yeah. I mean, I never understood that really. I mean, some people are great at it. And
I mean, for me, I like to listen. It's good for me because it puts it's like the same reason why I like the SP12. Yeah. You have like a limitation. Like I got 5 seconds.
Well,
and like at the thing, it's like my limitation is this store, and Well,
that's what actually me and Dave did a record on. We had all this fantastic equipment downstairs, but we got the SP12, and that was great.
Yeah. I
mean, it sounded awful, but we had fun with it.
Yeah, it's just the process, the way it works. It's like it does what it's.
But I love that simple.
You need these limitations. It's like that's my limitation of digging. Is like I'm only gonna get from these shitty records. Like if you start thinking like I'm digging on Discogs, like it's never gonna end, and you don't have enough money for that.
No, it's just and when you get it, you kind of it's like I grab get it and then you file it, and it's like the letdown is the next thing. Really, big deal. You've got it.
Well, I played on the radio once, and
you play. Okay, at least you do stuff.
Yeah, I try to.
And then when you die, your wife sells it all anyway and goes on holiday.
It's worked out so far, It
has.
It'll probably be me that's selling. I don't know. One day, I think about selling it. If anybody wants to buy my entire collection.
But how would you even go about doing that? I mean, I was just.
I would. I mean, you think about. I don't know. There would be. I mean, I started to. One of the guys that works at Rub-a-Dub, he told me that you can put all your stuff on Discogs as a collection, not listed for sale. And then you can sort by most expensive, and then you can like see what's worth a lot of money, and you'd be like, well, "That's worth $500. I don't care about that record.
Wow.
I would rather have $500." And he just sells the expensive ones. So there's that method, and then other thing would be just I know a lot of people that own record stores. You could just sell them the entire collection, and they come get them. I don't have to touch them.
I mean, I don't think my collection would be worth anything. Like it's just in the pennies.
You'd be surprised. It's
really?
weird.
Is it weird?
I'm only recently looking and seeing how much stuff is worth, but it's like to imagine that one record is worth $500.
What's the most you've ever spent on a record?
Like $30.
Really? That's a lot of money.
No, but it'd be like a brand new record. I think yeah, it would be like a brand new reissue that's like a double, like something.
180 gram vinyl.
Yeah.
Which is rubbish as well, because I always, I was told years ago, this is right, not the really thin vinyl's the best sounding.
Yeah.
Because it's so thin, these thick vinyls, it sounds.
I don't know.
It's just this fetish.
I don't care how stuff sounds.
It's a 30 dot. No, exactly. Well, I do if it's CD. I like it to sound the best it can, because I'm virtually deaf, so I kind of like to sound it.
I did. I have a friend that pirates stuff for me. I'll find stuff I want, and he'll find me the files.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I got recently is the Black Devil Disco Club. There's a remastered version from 2015.
Right.
because I want to know how he does the vocal effect, so I want to hear it better.
Well, that's great. But that's research.
Yeah, but
There's
so
nothing wrong, you know.
like that, I don't know. That's when I could really appreciate a CD
Yeah.
or a
okay,
digital
yeah.
file, you know. But
Well, that's research purposes. That's fine.
yeah, like because you know when you can really hear the thing, you could be like, how did he do that?
Sounds good.
You know,
How did you do that?
I have no idea. I think some kind of ring mod thing. I don't know what it is.
It'll
I
keep
wanted,
it-
I tried to ask him, but when I met him, he barely his English wasn't very good, and I just kept laughing at him because he had like a funny shirt on. But he seemed like we got along. It's like one of those people, like you meet people and there's like a language barrier,
Yeah.
but you keep just standing next to him anyway because you feel
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
kind of get along.
Well, I used to do that because I used to live in Berlin quite a lot, and I used to
Yeah.
have these conversations with old ladies in supermarkets. I couldn't speak German.
Yeah,
But I used to know a few words that
Yeah.
like would keep the conversation going.
yeah.
You know,
But it was the same. That's my Black Devil story.
good one. It's a good one.
That's all I got because I just he's one of these people that seemed really ahead of his time with his
Yeah.
music. But I don't know how long. I told you I'd give you a warning at 2 hours. It's been 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Really, I did.
How do you feel? Do we miss any major stuff?
No, I think we can go on.
We
and on.
we made it. We did it pretty good. We got to your new album. Your new
I
album's
ple-
coming
You know
out.
what? I plugged the new. Actually, that's an exclusive. No one knows about that.
Oh,
So there you go. No one cares. That's fine.
well, they'll find out about it. Maybe this will come out after it comes out. When's it coming out? Is it?
Next year, probably.
Yeah.
The records take so long to come out now. So.
And you're gonna make a record. Do you have the art already?
Yeah, man.
Do you
The
do
whole
it?
concept we made. Pardon? No, I don't. That's the only thing I wish I could. That's the only thing I can never do. I always have to rely on other people for our
Yeah.
work.
But you come up with the complete
Oh,
idea.
yeah, I
you
got-
have somebody
yeah.
that.
Yeah, me on horseback.
But that's cool. I mean, I like working with because I always have that. I'm the same way too. When you have like a design for something, you like know exactly how you want it, and then you find these certain designers, and you can tell them that, and they like can do it.
It's great, right?
Yeah, I like working with those
But
people.
I think designers appreciate that a lot more than people who have got no idea whatsoever.
yeah,
you
I
know.
think so too.
You know, because it does help. You know. But yeah, no, that's it. Really, it's just like
We didn't miss anything. Now you're a transatlantic.
here we go.
Your accent is wearing off.
Yeah.
You sound American now, but you're still
Wada.
back and forth. That's Boston, I think. Wada.
Wada. Well, yeah. Philly's got a specific accent as well. I only realised. I'm getting to sort of know this quite a lot, really. You know. I think Philly's got rude, something like
Yeah,
that.
wait till you go to like Kentucky or places like
Yeah. I've been down to
Tennessee.
I did a road trip. Well, not. I'm planning to do the southern states, but yeah,
Yeah, you should go, man.
I love it. I did Utah.
I want to try. I mean, I'm from Texas. We went in the summer. We spent most of July. My family has like a compound, or I don't know what. It used to be a girls' camp in the 20s, so it's like on the river. But my parents built an off-the-grid house, and I'm gonna try to start spending like July there, like every summer,
Wow.
and then hopefully longer. But
Yeah. Then go for
have a
Texas.
Yeah, but it's pretty nice if you're driving by in July, maybe.
Isn't
And
that
stop and go swimming or something.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
You might get burnt, but just.
Oh God, yeah. I'm a bit
But you
pale.
just have to pick the time when you go outside.
Is there any crocodiles or anything in there?
No, nothing. We got the only thing we have that's scary is there's rattlesnakes, but
No.
they have a rattle, so that when they warn you, you hear the sound.
Okay, that's good.
And it's
at least.
frightening,
Yeah.
and you leave, and so do they, and I've never had a problem. And then we also have wild pigs, wild boars.
Oh, wild boars. Okay.
Yeah, but they also you can hear them coming, and you can just climb a tree, but they're pretty scary. They'll kill your dogs and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
We have to keep. Yeah, you have to look after that.
Yeah.
Sort that
And
out.
watch out for your dogs. They're not
Cats.
going to win that battle.
No, wild boars are brutal.
But yeah, well, now we're reaching for something now. I don't know.
Yeah,
what.
but no, that's it really. Yeah, techno, it's all great. We're all doomed. Records are over.
And
The kids are gonna take.
but buy my new album.
buy my new album because it's gonna be the last chance you'll get. Own a bit of history.
I know, I'm curious though, and do those you said some of the people you work with are they going to be like listed on there like part of the bio thing?
Yeah, it's
That'll-
gonna be like I've got a band.
I want some liner notes.
Oh, yeah, I miss liner notes.
Yeah, I want, you pick
Extensive
it, you
ones.
read it, like the CD
Yeah.
book.
I like that.
And it has some photos and tells you stuff.
Tells you stuff recording process, isn't
Whatever. I wanted to put like lists of instruments on records sometimes when I was in a band a long time ago, and the other guy was like,
I think that's great though.
Yeah, I do too.
Are you that? I mean, I am that boring. I would read lists of instruments. I think that's so
yeah,
good.
for sure.
No real instrument. I mean,
Yeah,
you're not
and the
kind
thank yous and all that stuff.
of. Thank yous are great.
Yeah, and then you can see who they like. You know,
Yeah, I've done that a few times. Thank yous. Like, why not?
mom and dad.
No. Yeah, people with their parents. I never do that.
You
You
just
know.
put my family. That
Yeah.
covers all of them.
Yeah. That's it, sort them all out in one fell. Yeah.
But thank you, thank you very much, Mr. Karl. What's your middle name?
My real middle name.
Yeah,
Edward.
Karl Edward O'Connor.
Yeah. I don't think anyone knows that.
Karl Edward. It's
Yeah.
pretty. It just flows.
It's all right.
It's fine.
I'm just, I don't know, names. They've got to go as well. The end of names have got to happen soon.
Sounds like you don't want to leave, but we're gonna finish up now. And,
We're done. We're done.
And I'll see. You can come back sometime after your album comes out, and we'll see if it fails or not.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Radio. Radio.